to another episode of the Off-Camber Podcast presented by Specialized. I'm your host, Michael Lindsay. This podcast is also supported by a few new brands, Yoshimura R&D and Works Chassis Lab, also joining our other supporters, Chaparral Motorsports and Fox Racing. This week's episode really fits the quintessential moments of like my growing up or in and around the industry and my website viewing habits with Verb Moto. I've always wanted to do an episode somehow related to it, so I was finally able to track down Wes Williams, and we sat down for almost 2 hours. If you know anything about Verb or were a fan in the day, you know that Wes was the heart and soul of that website. So we talk about what actually got him to that place with Goat Kreations, kind of the earliest days of shooting moto video and getting it like really quickly put up on the web, moving into the Verb days, and now all the really cool Red Bull projects he does. It's nearly 2 hours long, and there's a lot of really cool stories in this. There's a very unique James Stewart story, so make sure you listen to the whole thing. Before we get started, though, I want to throw in a little bit of the business side. As I said, this show is presented by Specialized. The Big S supports a lot of people in our industries, a lot of riders. We're actually in the process of getting Adam Enticknap, everybody's favorite 7 Deuce Deuce, hooked up on a new bike right now, whether it's road, gravel, mountain, everything. Turbo, Levos, the EMAP bike segment. Check them out at specialized.com. We've also got Yoshimura R&D on this week. We're now brought to you by Yoshimura, home of the 2019 250cc East Supercross champ Chase Sexton, current 2-time world champ and points leader Tim Geiser, and the current points leader in the Moto America Superbike Competition Series with Tony Elias. Yoshimura has been winning for more than 6 decades. See what's new at yoshimura-rd.com. They just redid their whole website. Go check them out. We also have Chaparral Motorsports. They've been around for more than 3 decades. Dirt bikes, quads, side-by-sides, you name it. They have the parts and accessories, everything you need. Check them out, chapmoto.com. Drop the code ML512 to save yourself a little bit at checkout. They're actually the dealership I am privately procuring all my bikes out for the shootouts this year, so that's going to be fun. We also have Works Chassis Lab, which admittedly is an venture between myself and a partner. We do all the engine mounts and a lot of different chassis parts for the Factory Cowie team, MCR Honda, Star Racing, Rock River, and plenty of other privateers, Tyler Bowers, the HEP team, Adam Enticknap, etc. Check them out, workschassilab.com. Also, last one is Fox Racing. Fox recently did drop the all-new V3 helmet with fluid inside, multi-composite shell technology. A lot of really good things went into this helmet, great ventilation, just really working on bringing their, kind of completing that range. Fox has been trying to nail the top of the line kind of head to toe segment for a long time, and they've been able to update that helmet and make sure they stay up in that foray. So check them out at foxracing.com. So now let's jump into our conversation with Wes Williams.
So when I came up with the idea of doing a podcast, I made a short list of people I really want to talk to, and that's not just with moto. It was a list amongst different sports I'm interested in, different hobbies, things I'm interested in. And to be honest, you're still like top 3 for that. So
you said that earlier when we got pizza, but I think you were just telling me that so I'd get your pizza, and it worked. But here you are. I already bought your pizza. You don't have to keep saying that.
I already got Kyle Cowling's pizza for the day. Well, no, seriously,
well, I appreciate that. If you're truly serious, I don't know why, but that's I very much appreciate it.
See, I feel bad for like Cody and Ryan and their guys interviewed up here. They all think I came up here for them.
Okay.
They were a byproduct of my trip.
You came up for me, man. I feel it. I feel that. I got chills.
So I've always wanted to go over your story because I think like a lot of what I would say kids or teenagers at the time of when you guys were at basically the peak of Verb, like even in my time at working at a website, working at Vital, I'm pretty sure I never checked Vital as much daily as I checked out Verb daily when I was a fan of Verb.
That is so badass, honestly.
Like I worked on the site, so you imagine how many times a day I had to click on it.
I remember how many times I checked Verb a day as well, and I did all the updating. So
yeah. And I did the most updates about, and I still think I clicked VurbMoto more back in the day when it was on. So that's what this interests me so much.
I'd be like, me and Bulmer would be the ones that posted. And it was like, we are always on like every 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like, I'd always get on and click. And I was like, I know nothing new stuff. Like, why did I even click it?
Click on the homepage. I'm the one that works here.
Right.
But that's the thing. So there's a time before Verb. There is a Wes existence before Verb that includes shooting. And that's, what was it before that? Goat
Kreations is where it started. Before that, it was just me and my cats and my mom's bonus room, which is actually the room I grew up in, but we call it my mom's attic now. But I started doing cat videos. That's where it all started.
Wait, do you have millions of views on YouTube with cat videos?
No, hopefully they never surface. If they do, that'd be terrible.
Okay, so at what point did you decide to move from cats to dirt bikes shooting?
So in 2002, I used to race just like a lot of us in the industry.
Really? You rode?
Yeah, I rode. I made Loretta's 2002. So right after Loretta's 2002 C-Class.
What class?
125C stock, I think. And Jimmy Albertson was in my class, Michael Paglia. It was a stacked year. So anyways, it's still, but when 125s were around, I think Albertson was the only cheating mofo on a 4-stroke, if I remember correctly. But back in the days before the 4-strokes became the way of the world.
Now he doesn't even know what 4-strokes are anymore.
Right. So anyways, my mom got laid off her job after that, and she's like, hey, if you want to keep racing, you got to find a way to support it. And I was like, well, I know how to use this video camera thing. And she had just gotten a computer for work that had a Firewire port. And she's like, hey, I think you can take your footage from the Handycam that you got and like somehow put it on the computer. I was like, really? And so Loretta's that year, Road and Dirt had made like a highlight video or something with a dope ass Incubus song. And I remember seeing it afterwards and be like, holy shit, I can do the same thing. And so anyways,
I have the technology.
Right. So I got Pinnacle Studios and I figured out how to load up my cat videos and my local GPG series footage on there. And we started making Goat Kreations. So Goat Kreations was my nickname. Big Balls Wes, as I was referred to, because I pinned it everywhere, jumped all the big stuff, super Goonie style back in the day. And so yeah, I called it Goat Kreations. And so I ran with that from like 2002 to 2006. Went to Playground for a stint, Moto Playground that is, for about 6 to 8 months. And then Brent and I, Stallo, that started Verb with me, we met at Playground in 2006 and decided to start a website. So that's where the concept of Verb came up with anyways.
What adjustment?
What you got?
I'm going to make a small adjustment here.
Small adjustment.
Small adjustment.
If I talk too much, just tell me to shut up because I might ramble.
You're talking. My nickname is, your nickname might be Big Balls. Mine is literally Talking
It's
Boy.
not Big Balls anymore. And it was really Goat. My nickname was Goat, but I got called Goat because I had big balls. I never got called Big Balls West. It was just the correlation there. Yeah, that I better not be called Big Balls West. No, I should never have said that. That's terrible. But hey, I'll take it if it comes.
Drop it in the comment section below if if it needs to be changed from Verb West to Big Balls West on Instagram. God, that terrible. Might get you banned though.
Terrible.
But even then, like, I think we're spoiled now, of course, how many people put out video content every day. And it's the point because it's become so accessible between DSLRs, cams, editing software. You know, a lot of us use either Premiere or Final Cut, but you can use Apple iMovie. You can use the Instagram editor on your phone. But the time you guys did it, being able to turn content and put it on the internet that quickly, for especially in our industry, in our little lowly industry, was like...
I'll tell you what, when we, in 2005, David Iser and Kevin Kelly at DMXS Radio hit me up and were like, do you think you could do not a live show, but a same day show where you shoot the racing, edit it that night with us doing commentary over it? And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that, but we'll figure it out. And sure enough, we did 5 days, and I think the whole crew slept like collectively an hour a night. It was so bad. We were so ragged by the end of the week, but it set in motion this whole thing of like, I now know how to do same day content. And so we did that in 05, 06, and then 07, Davey Coombs was like, hey, let's do this for the Outdoor Nationals. And it was when it was 2 days and we were still shooting a tape, and we'd have to, like, we shot hours a day of tape and used to have to capture it in real time. So we wouldn't even start editing till like 2 a.m. It was so bad. So bad. But we did it for the Outdoor Nationals from that time on, from like 07, 08, 09. And it was just a huge learning experience, and being around that whole crew. I mean, obviously the work ethic that you learn from that, you know, those people, Jason Wygant and Davey, Brian Staley back in the day at Racer X, it was just mind blowing what I learned and how hard I also learned how to work.
Well, I'm about to say the whole shooting and sleeping 1 hour, I think, sets the tone for the majority of what's coming up on the Verb crew.
Right.
But like, for somebody who doesn't know what the workflow looks like especially the early days shooting, what did it take for you guys to get from shooting it to the track to getting upload and somebody watching on the internet the next morning?
Oh my gosh. So like this is pre-YouTube days. So let's just preface all this with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to what we did with tapes. It was the Racer X Motocross show on motocross.com. Okay. And we would have to, like I said, we'd shoot the tape. We'd have 3 or 4 hours of tape that we'd shot collectively, normally 2 or 3 shooters. We'd probably shoot that much throughout the days because we'd shoot 4 motos plus stand-ups plus B-roll in the pits or whatever. And then we'd have to come back and capture. So we'd start editing at 2 a.m. We'd probably put it together within 3 or 4 hours, 6 a.m., I don't know. And then we'd have to convert it to Flash on an 07 MacBook Pro. So it would take like an hour and a half for that. And then we'd still have to upload it to motocross.com, which who knows? I remember sitting at like a Starbucks in it's 5 a.m. and just sitting there and it's locked up. Like it was, well, so I guess they'd be open at 5. So it must have been like 3 or something. But I remember sitting outside of Starbucks.
You're on the table they left out front.
Out front.
Or maybe sitting on the curb if they took the table away.
Right. And I was out there by myself just nodding off with a laptop in my lap because the internet at hotels back then used to be absolutely
still
terrible.
Suck. I've done that even at good hotels. I've gone to Starbucks at
right. So I honestly don't know how we used to do it. I joke with Brent Stallo, David Bulmer, that I started Verb with, and even Weege and Kevin about how we used to do this. And it's honestly to this day unbelievable that we could pull it off, and we pulled it off consistently for years. It's unbelievable. If you ask me to do the same thing now, obviously I know it's possible, but I'd probably tell you, no, you're crazy, dude.
Even Fire's talking about how much, because like file, the resolution of cameras, what they're bringing in for information, the file sizes we deal with now, the amount of hard drives you have to freaking store all that
Yep.
stuff. What'd you guys do with everything even back then?
Well, it's just funny as technology progressed, so did the speed of the cards, but then so did the speed of the hard drives and speed of the computer. So it never seemed like we regressed. And I think the biggest step was when we went digital to P2 cards. I think in 2008 with the HVX 200, we were shooting to cards and we were able to bring it into Final Cut Pro at that point in time, and it would digitize at the track. So we'd set up computers at the track, and then we'd be digitizing, or it was called log and transfer back then. So it'd convert the clips to QuickTime ProRes or whatever it was there at the track. So basically when we got back to the hotel back then, we'd be ready to start editing then. So, then
you'd already sped it up by like 2-3 hours.
Oh, at least. So yeah, we're editing by like 10 o'clock at that point. We were done by 2.
You're sitting there eating, you're working.
It was crazy.
You went from 1 hour sleep to 4?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whew.
And I think another big change that happened, I think it happened in 08. 07, it was Saturday practice, Sunday race. So we had 2 days of that. It was terrible. And so I think once they went to the 1-day format, it was a little bit more manageable, like mentally. So I think that was either 08 or 09 that they made the switch. But that was definitely a huge thing for us too. Like it's a whole lot easier to work that hard for 1 day at a time. And then obviously when you went to Loretta's or amateur nationals, that was insanity in itself. But wasn't quite the same workload, but it was pretty gnarly still.
So how'd you guys the concept of Verb Moto, when would you say it was, when did you guys come up with it? When was the first time you sat down and go, this is what we're doing, this is why, and what was the original concept of what Verb was going to be? So
because of Goat Kreations, which was actually a website that I had back in the day, it was kind of like the very first place I ever put videos that I was making, which was just local Georgia series videos that I was making. Got a pretty good following with that. So I knew it could work. And I remember in like 05, maybe I called Boysen to try to get the air intake for my 125, or it was probably 04. And they were like, oh my gosh, you'll put our logo on your website in exchange for some rad valves. And I was like, it finally clicked. I was like, wait a second.
I can get stuff and make money.
So I was like, this is how I could start monetizing this a little bit. But then I started working with Harold at Moto Playground and doing this stuff, actually making money doing some other videos. So I was like, I wasn't really chasing the whole website thing so much anymore as I was at the beginning. And so we went to Playground, and that kind of transitioned us into a magazine thought process. And then when Brent and I decided to leave there, I was like, I knew something was right with the internet and where it was going. So I told Brent, I was like, dude, we should start a website. So there was definitely a point in time where we had no idea what the hell to do. We were broke. He was 25 and I was 20, I think. Broke as hell. Like, how the hell did we start anything with absolutely no money, just ambition? And we said, dude, let's start a website. And one of our buddies, Ben, built us a site called Allegiance is what it started out as. And we went and just started charging, man. And slowly but surely, it took a long time for people to believe in it. We brought a guy, Andrew Campo, on that still does Meta, and he started figuring out how to monetize it for us, going after advertisers. And him and Brent would go to California and just didn't know anybody, just start knocking on doors. And people were like, wait, you want to do what? You want to start an amateur dirt bike website and put videos and articles on it? Like, everybody thought we were crazy. I'm glad I'm not the one knocking on doors, because I could never do that shit. I was never, someone calls me, I can be like, yeah, dude, you should buy onto this, but I could never be the one to like just do the cold calls. That's like the biggest nightmare for me.
Who are some of the first supporters of the whole idea? Like, who came on and made it feasible financially? Like, do you remember, was it people you had connections with, or was there some people out of the blue that wanted to support amateur moto? Or
it took probably 2 or 3 years before we got anybody to give us real money. But I think Andrew Campos finally sold Fly. They were probably one of our first big ones. Racer X supported us from the beginning. They're the ones that like really got us the exposure. I don't think they knew what it was going to become, so they were like fully on board with posting all our stuff and giving us as much exposure as they did. So thankfully for them, they gave us the platform, which allowed us to get to some bigger eyeballs. But I think by 2009, especially by the time I did Epic, people really started saying, holy shit, this Verb thing has some legs. So once we hit 2009, everybody from Fulcrum, DC, Fly, Thor, their companies were lining up at that point. It just took 2 years of like digging before we finally got like enough to actually live off of. I think go ask Bulmer, Brent, Andrew. I think we all lived off $1,000 a month for 2 years while we got this done. And Brent and I always joke, dude, his rent was $800 a month. And I was like, I to this day, I'm like, how did you live? And he's like, I have no idea. I lived with my mom, so it didn't matter. So, you know what I mean? I had a box van that I traveled around in. So, and I made a little bit extra money doing video stuff. I had made a few DVDs that still made some money every now and again for me. So that, I don't know that I was living off necessarily $1,000 a month at the time, but pretty damn close to it.
Where'd Verb Moto like? When did you guys come up with the name Verb Moto, and where the heck did it come from?
In March 2007, we were actually calling it Allegiance MX. We went to Lake Whitney and Oak Hill and launched it with that, and everybody kept calling us different things and how do you spell it, and we realized very quickly you can't. Allegiance MX. Can you even spell it now?
ALLEGIANCE
mx.com. Okay, you did it right, but you're also a very educated I feel like you can spell, so
I can spell. That still took a second though.
Yeah, so anyways, I figured some fifth grade kids at the dirt bike track probably were gonna, especially
you're doing a website about kids, it's probably reaching two right. kids, so there's your start.
So we came up, I remember sitting in a hotel room at like Ponca City or something and coming up with 4 or 5 different names. And we passed them to our buddy Justin Odom and said, hey, make logos for all these names, and we're going to pick our name based on the coolest design. And he passed us back Verb Moto, and we thought it had the coolest design, and we're like, there it is. But I remember sitting on the phone with everybody too and going, are we sure this is the right name? Like, it sounds so Disney. We thought it would never, I don't know. There was definitely a lot of hesitation in going forward with that name because we thought it was so dumb at first. But looking back, our other names were pretty dumb too. I don't even remember what the other ones were, but they were probably worse. But you know what's funny? It worked. Like, nobody once said anything that said, oh, your name's dumb as hell. It just worked.
What kind of who is, because I think of when I first started to really watch Verb was, because I'm thinking about the amateur kids, it was probably about late 08. And I think the video that stands out in my head that I think was the first one that really made me remind me to come back was video from I think it was the Winter Ams. Scott Elderfield came over, Malcolm Stewart, Jimmy Dakotas, Sandra. Which track is that down there?
Dade City. TV on the radio.
Man. Yep. That song still, I actually downloaded the other day because I was trying to dig up I think that's the first like Verb video that really, I remember seeing a couple before them, but that was the one that drew me. And so I became like a major, I'd say view that was sometime in 08. And at that point, like Whitney, like I remember like Whitney 09, the edits from that, because you had like Dean Wilson, Malcolm Stewart, Travis Barrett, guys like that. You guys put out something every day from Whitney, every day from Oak Hill. That was 2 weeks straight when we used to do it back-to-back spring nationals and everything came with that. What was the crew like at the time that pulled that insanity off?
So I had my Goat Kreations box van that I had bought in like 05, and it could comfortably sleep like 4 people, and we'd all cram in that thing. And so we had myself, Brent, and whatever collection of filmers wanted to be involved in, because everybody loved what we were doing. And so it was crazy, the different perspective back then. I had so many of my, they were friends that had helped throughout the years with Goat Kreations all the way to this point, even at Playground. And everybody just wanted to come and have fun. It wasn't about money. It was about passion, just living this life. You got to think we're 7, 18, 19 years old, all of us, just chasing the dream. Like most time I guess we were like, hey, Mom, Dad, would you pay for us a plane ticket to Texas? I'm going to go sleep in this dude's box van for a week. And, sure, run off, Johnny. Like,
the video version of rock and roll.
Right. So, we all just crashed in my box van, and eventually Andrew Campos started bringing his motorhome because he had one too, so that gave us a little bit more space. But it was, I don't know, man. It's crazy now. I don't think anybody would come and do that now. There's no kid that's going to be like, oh yeah, I'll come bust my ass for 2 weeks for nothing just to have my name in a video. It doesn't work like that anymore. But I think the perspective is different now because the money,
they'll do it for Insta bangers.
Yeah, maybe. There was literally no money in what we were doing back then, whereas I think now people know there's money in it. So it's not like we ask anybody to work for free now, but back then when you're 18 and people know you're broke as shit, it's just a different
It was
deal. Just
kind of, at that point it was obvious. Like, yeah, there's nothing around here to go around. Let's just do it for the hell of it.
And it was fun, dude. Like we used to, we'd shoot all day and party, and then we'd do it all again the next day. Like, I don't know. We lived the rock star life as young kids. And I look back, I don't know how we did it because it was crazy. I wouldn't say we partied every day, but there was definitely, we made sure we had a good time while we did it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that kept people around and helping us is you didn't go and bust your ass and get whipped. It was like, go and have a good time, shoot, have fun, do what you love to do. That you're, when you're 18, you're chasing that job, but then you're going to have fun too. And eat lots of peanut butter and jelly because that's what we had to eat. Lots and lots of peanut butter and jelly. And if you did a good job that day, Michael, you got a chocolate chip cookie. And then I'm sure some parents were dumb enough to go buy us beer. So
when did what actually, so I say that I know what my first video is that made me, really when I remember Verb and I think of this, I know what video stands out to me. For you personally, what video do you feel like once you guys became Verb, what do you think you felt like took off the most for you? Is there something that stands out that you felt like really hit it for you, or a certain series or events or anything you did?
I don't think there's anything in particular that stands out. I think from the time we started, we always continued to raise the bar, and that was always the biggest thing for me. It was always us pushing ourselves to do better and better. It wasn't anybody else that kept raising the bar, and I think that's what made Verb is we just kept going like this all the way until we were doing platinum videos. Nobody else was doing video on that level. But you look back at 08 when we went to Retchie Canyon with Kyle Engel and Christian Craig. I still watch that video to this day, and I just appreciate the film style back then and how I really didn't know too much about what I was even doing with the camera from what I remember. You
pointed it at a dirt bike and hit record.
Right. I think about 06 is when I was like figuring out what like shutter speed really was and what it did in f-stop and like all the different stuff on the camera. I think before that it was just all auto and shooting and pointing. Yeah, I don't know that I really know what I was doing. So I think 08's really when I started learning, like,
You became creative
and like knew composition, knew what the camera functions did, and was really pushing my limits creatively on that. So it's funny, I look back at those videos and I still really like them. So again, from that point, once I really learned how to keep doing stuff and keep making it look better and add color and doing sound and cool music, I think it all just escalated from there. But I'd probably say the biggest breakthrough was when we did the James Stewart heli shoot in 09. First ever really thing that came out of Stewart compound, especially in the helicopter. So that got on Red Bull and blew up to millions of views instantly, which was well more than I had ever gotten on anything else.
The Christian Craig Angle shoot, was that the one where Kyle flat landed?
No, so that was epic in 09. So I mean, most people probably don't even know the video I'm talking about, but it's Ritchie Canyon, and it's those two, and then Blake Baggett rode from his house over to Ritchie Canyon, and dude, they're hitting the big jumps, and it was my first time I'd ever been out there, and I just remember being like, holy
actually, the
shit.
Angle flyland, that would have been Beaumont. Actually, I got that was wrong,
Beaumont,
right?
Yep. So I don't even know where that video exists, because it was actually on MySpace, because I think initially that's where we put all the Verb stuff, because that's what everybody did. I remember the Red Bull Jams videos we used to do were on the Red Bull Jams MySpace. Because like, I don't even think YouTube became prevalent until 11 or like fully adopted till like 2012. I remember having the conversation in 2012. Should we switch from our own Flash player to this YouTube thing? And I was like, I think we should.
And it's funny is there's still, I mean, up until a couple of years ago, there were sites still trying to do their own thing, but now it's pretty much the most common route by far.
Yeah.
But especially because it leads to a different money route. I mean, you can monetize YouTube. You guys didn't have the advantage of any of that for views. I mean, a view was good, but it didn't correlate directly to $1 like it does now.
Well, you know what? I think my biggest worry back then was that Racer X or Vital or maybe it was Moto Drive or Transworld were getting way more views than us. I had no idea the comparison of numbers. And so I was worried that if we put stuff on YouTube,
people would see it.
People would see our numbers and they weren't going to be good enough compared to those guys. But I remember looking at, we were going to save like $4,000 a month by switching to YouTube because of bandwidth.
Yep.
And that cost alone was like, hey, we could not have to live off $1,000 a month anymore. So, you know, when we took that into consideration, we're like, fuck it, let's switch it to, can I say that? I'm sorry.
It don't matter.
So we switched to YouTube, and I remember the numbers were great and everybody couldn't believe how good the numbers were. And from that point forward, I was like, I'm so glad our numbers are out visible for everybody to see, because it kind of made everybody else have to follow suit. And then we got to see everybody's numbers and saw that we were in the running just like anybody else.
Yeah. No, it's actually funny, the bandwidth conversation, because I remember when it was my first or second year of Vital, so 5 years ago, I had that conversation. Well, no, I started 6 years too. So somewhere around 3-4 years ago, I had my conversation once with my boss about, because we had our own video player, and same thing, we kind of him and hawed on it, and I had a couple of reasons why we could do it, even about search, but one of the big ones that finally came up about 6 months, 12 months, I always sat down, was bandwidth costs, and across 3 websites, that was like $4 or $5 grand.
Yep, a lot of money.
I didn't realize that till they told me, well, if we switch, it's this. I'm like, oh.
And Verb was pretty much a predominantly video-driven website. Everybody came to us to watch our videos, and you got to think, by that point in time, like by 2012, we had archive stuff all the way back to 07 that were running all that bandwidth for all. I can't imagine what those servers were doing.
Hey, I came to Verb for Clueless too.
Oh, hey, don't get me wrong. We had some really cool shit, and especially in the amateur ranks, nobody else is doing it. So even till the time we shut down, nobody's really pulling the weight that we were in the amateur world. So yeah, there's plenty of, don't make it sound like it was only videos. There's plenty of epic shit that Bulmer crushed it. Brent crushed it. We had a ton of other contributors that were really good. It was a huge family throughout the years that just, we all did our own little special thing to make Verb.
Speaking of,
I got a little closer.
Speaking of the reason I say Clueless, I'm still disappointed to this day that nobody has picked up Bulmer's Clueless feature.
No,
I tried to pitch it to my boss at one point. I would have loved it.
I think it was one of the best features we had on Verb. I don't think people get how good his English sarcasm is, and like, unless you know it's getting written by him in that style of sarcasm, it's like, I love
British.
I don't get it. I think a lot of people just kind of went over their head but it was awesome. Yeah, he did a good job with that.
So if somebody comes up to you and asks, like, when you look at it, like you said, you had people coming in and out or helping in events, but to you, what was the OG Verb crew? Like, who were the guys that really you credit with getting it to prevalence?
So it was me, Brent, Bulmer, Andrew Campo, Clint Wilkinson, Brian McDowell, Gary Price, Ryan Walters, Travis Stewart. I'm going to leave people out and they're going to be pissed here. Kalen Sheedy, John Parkinson, a bunch of names that are, so there's a handful that are still like around, still doing some pretty dope stuff in the industry.
I want to say that list got longer than I thought. Like, okay, so I remember Gary Price. Gary has still done quite a bit of stuff in the moto movies. He's is he based in Europe?
Yeah.
So he did a lot of Europe content for you guys.
And he still does. He still works for Cowie Europe and a lot of big companies over there doing stuff. Yeah.
John Parkinson is him and his brother did Panic Rev, and I believe John is taking over full time. Bulmer still just travels the world.
Now he's Honda
HRC press manager for the MXGP team.
And shout out to something Brent and Bulmer starting again, singletrackproject.com.
Single Track Project. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We got some chronological stuff to go through here. Like you said, then Campos Maeda. Was Stallo part of the original group?
Yep. So him and I. Yep.
And he's working.
Oh, and then I guess even Chase Stallo. Because he was in college, Brent hired Chase as an intern. So Chase actually got the right job at Racer X because of him busting his ass for absolutely nothing at Verb. I had totally forgot about that. So, and I'm sure there's plenty other dudes. There was definitely a handful of video guys that were around with me from like 2003 when I started Goat Kreations that pretty much helped until like 2009 until there's a lot of people that, once they turned 20, 21, 22, they either went off to college or got real jobs or whatever and quit chasing the dream. But we were all dumb enough to.
Well, what I think, that list, there's a lot of video guys there that have done some really cool features. If somebody watches a lot of the monster spots on TV, a lot of the Dirt Chalk stuff is Ryan Walters.
Yep.
Danny Stew's done some amazing work.
Danny Stew's probably the one person that still works with me from the original OG crew. I think he started in like 2007. So because he asked me this year, he's like, who's the longest dude you've worked with on video stuff? And I'm like, it's probably you. He's like, I hadn't even thought about that. So yeah, shout out to Danny Stew as well.
But let's say it led a lot of guys, and as was, you guys all busted your butt for a while until kind of the skill shine through and everybody kind of went out and found route. So you're almost like a little academy.
Yeah,
the little Verb Moto University.
So Jason Crane, who works with us now, he started in like 2010, I think. So he wasn't part of the OG crew, but he was probably the second phase of the OG crew. So he always says that like when new people come around, he's like, oh, I've been through the Wes Williams Academy, and I'm like, oh gosh, here's this story again.
Here we go. Yeah, you guys got quite a few people broken in it.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's pretty funny though, even on the presenter side, like Georgia Lindsay, she started doing stuff with us in Verb in 2008 that kind of got her start. Kristen Beat, who now still does stuff with NBC Sports, and she's doing American Flat Track now. So I saw her a few weeks ago and she's like, isn't it crazy that the very first time I did anything presenting wise was with you? We did stuff with Aaron Normal back in the day. So we've, I don't know. I think all around it was just such a unique, cool, exciting time that everybody really got their foot in the door somewhere another through Verb.
So there's a couple things like during the legacy of Verb that stand out to me as like milestones. So the James Stewart shoot was one. I was going to bring up that one. Just him like looking at I think it was a fisheye in the garage, all goofy.
Yeah.
To the first big whip shot the double from the heli is so sick. Where that was that your first real big Red Bull project, or was that your first Red Bull project?
No, it wouldn't have been my first because
you did the jams.
So we were doing the jam stuff up to that point. So I think that video was summer 2009. We had done all the jams videos with Cooper, Jesse, Joey Savacci, Ken Roxon.
When Kenny came over for Loretta's
in 2008. So that video still is on YouTube as well. I think it's on the VurbMoto YouTube still. So I'm probably missing. Tara Geiger was one of them. Kyle Engel was one of them. So everybody, I don't think these videos exist anymore, but there used to be such cool videos of those guys shredding around on the Red Bull Jams MySpace, like I mentioned earlier. But Yeah, but I think the very first
we know somebody at Red Bull. Maybe they can find it.
I think we'd have to know someone at MySpace.
We all know Tom.
Right.
He was in my friends.
I don't know. I think Tom's on an island somewhere having fun. So, but yeah, I remember Jeremy, everybody calls him Hammer, hit me up we were at Freestone, I think, heading to High Point, and there was a break in the Nationals that week. And he's like, hey, what do you think about going to Stewart's house? And I had been there earlier that year to shoot for Malcolm Stewart in a helicopter. I shot him and Justin Starling on the track. And James had heard about it and said, hey, I want that guy, whoever shot my brother, to come back and bring the helicopter. Because I want to do a heli shoot.
James Stewart asked for you, that guy.
That guy.
And
you
were that guy.
I was that guy. So we showed up in the Verb Mighty Whitey motorhome, Campo's motorhome, and it was me, Kalen Sheedy, John Parkinson, Ryan Walters, and David Bulmer. And they had no idea that we were cruising in a motorhome 5 deep. And so we all get out. We're like, hell yeah, this is sick. And I remember it being quite a debacle at first because they were not pleased at all that all of us showed up. And I was like, hey, I just drove from Texas to get here. I have no idea what you guys expected.
I can only imagine what Big James said to you.
I can't really repeat any of what was said that day because, yeah, it's I can tell that story one day, but it makes some people look bad.
How did I mean, it's gotta be nerve-wracking shooting in a heli just from the sake of getting the shots. Like you got pretty limited time. You know what's
funny is I was so used to it at that point. My best friend went to helicopter training school in 2007.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were used to shooting.
I was. It was crazy. So it was. I had worked out all this free helicopter time throughout the years with my best friend Chris Creamer. And if you go back to 2007, we did the Ultimate November with Dean Wilson, Tyler Schoberg, and
the Extreme Team Green Shoot.
And so from that point, I had done, and then we did stuff with Ian Treadle in Florida. I had enough experience in a helicopter that I wasn't scared shitless showing up to James Stewart and him asking me to shoot in a helicopter. So I'd done it enough to know that, okay, I can get some sick shit. And since I'd especially done the same exact track earlier that year, I'm sure I had a little confidence from that too. And going back to the shoot that we did, there's some really cool shots in there that I still ask myself to this day, how the hell did I pull that off? Like, there's these shots coming through the trees with me zooming in, and it's just like perfectly framed. I'm like, how the hell did I do that? Hanging out the side of an R22.
Oh my god! What were you shooting on that time?
It would have been an HVX 200. So like, it was basically Panasonic's P2 camera. It was the first slow-mo 720p camera that came out that you could overcrank to 60 frames a second. So that's shoot slow-mo internally in the camera. So you just switch a little dial, and next thing you know, you're shooting slow motion. Unbelievable. So
it was mind blowing at the time.
So that's what everybody at the time went to. Before the 7Ds, it was from 08 when they came out, 08 and 09, and partially of 10. Everybody was using the HVX 200.
What were you? The Starling Malcolm, was that for Epic or no?
Yep,
that's when you had started. That was so cool. That was the next one I was going to ask you about. Is Epic? Because that was the first movie you guys did branded under
Verb. Yep.
Okay, so how'd that come about?
I don't know. We were just always, I don't remember. Actually, I do know. That's it. That's all. The snowboard movie came out from Kurt Morgan and at the end of 08. And I remember watching it with Georgia Lindsay and Travis Stewart and Brent down and Kaylin Sheedy down at Minio's when it came out. And the soundtrack, the way they shot it with jibs and dollies and everything, that was when my mind really clicked and said, whoa. There's a whole nother dimension to filmmaking in sports anyways, that I had never even began to think of. And I said, I want to make something as similar to this as I can for a movie. So I think in 09 was when we really decided we need to start chasing the pro ranks to be able to get the advertising dollars. Cause I think up to that point, nobody would support us there wasn't amateur budgets. There was only pro budgets. So everybody's telling us, hey, you got to start shooting the pro dudes. So anyways, I think it was like January, February 09, we went out to California and spent a few weeks with Matt Lemoyne and Darren Durham, Nico Izzy.
Okay, so Nico, Supercross track, Suzuki.
Yep.
Jason Anderson.
Yep.
KTM test track when he was an amateur.
Yep.
Volcom kid still.
Yep.
Matt Lemoyne, Durham, and Tickle in the Hills of Richie or Beaumont.
Yeah, that was Richie, yep.
Richie.
And Brock Hepler showed up. That was the last time I probably saw Brock Hepler.
Oh man, I forgot about that part. Who else in the Epic?
Travis Baker at Kia.
And then you had at what was called the Red Bull Compound, Wyvern Ranch. You had Savachi, Webb, and Landon Courier.
Yep.
Then we go Starling, Malcolm Stewart, Florida, and
we got Jesse Nelson at Castillo.
Jesse Castillo.
And then we did one of my favorite shoots to this day is Landon Courier at Zaka Station.
Zaka.
Dude, some of my shots there. Oh my God.
Landon's from those because he was so exaggerated with the bar stops on the whips.
Unbelievable, dude. I last week I was finding all my Cooper stuff to use in the his congratulations Red Bull video for the championship. And
did you find the shot of him? What was he had? He was feeding. He had all over his face the spaghetti he had.
Yeah. I didn't put any of that in there. Didn't want to embarrass him too bad. So, but either way, I come across all this footage of Landon that just never saw the light of day, and I'm telling you, it's ungodly, dude. He was so sick on a bike.
Thinking of kids that never really got their shot and deserve it, I'm always so pumped for him. He never even got his shot.
Him and Ian Treadle both, dude. I guess Ian kind of got his shot, but Ian was like one of my best racer friends growing up, and to see him, go through that traumatic brain injury at Daytona and never really get to shine in the pro ranks.
Landon destroyed, I think his feet.
Yeah, dude, and just something that you just never rebound from. Crazy, man.
Yeah. So
and even old Nico, I mean, it's a totally different story, but he blew out his foot, and even though he was having a little bit of fun before then, it kind of sent him down a completely different life path that probably could have been a lot different. So the
song choice for his section in retrospective is
so hey, not only in Epic is the song choice crazy.
Yeah.
Go back. There's another video I did with him, I think in 2012 when he was on the Kilbarger Honda. It was the Offspring song, "The Kids Aren't All Right," and it is. And I don't know. There's 2 or 3 or 4 videos I've found that I did of him, and all the songs somehow mirrored his life.
A little too closely.
And it wasn't on purpose. It was just dope ass songs. And I was like, dude, this vibe just fits him so good.
You're predicting the future.
Somehow, some way, dude.
Kyle Angle, when he destroyed himself, I think OJ knocked himself out, broke his collarbone or whatever.
Yeah, knocked himself out.
Who else was on that one? Was that Dean or Craig was out? Craig was with him. Yeah. Are we missing anything from Epic?
No, you're right. There's a little Dino shot at Anza, I think, or it was it Rhino's place or something. So Dino had a handful of shots in Epic. So I don't know. I those are all the California shoots I can remember, anyways.
Did you do anything from Colorado in Epic?
Yeah, with Tomac. We went
to
the
Tomac shot. Yeah, okay.
And even there, I don't know. Go back and watch if you get bored as hell. Go back, watch. That's it. That's all from 08.
Yeah.
And granted, they had a way better budget with some way higher end cameras and shit. But go back, Kurt Morgan and Red Bull.
Oh,
so it's a Red Bull Media House thing. But then go watch what a bunch of 21-year-old kids did in 09 with HVX 200s, and like I wouldn't say it's on the same level, but it's pretty impressive, the shots and how cool it is.
Yeah, I think like big thing for me is Epic has aged well. I love going back and still watching it now.
What's funny is I hadn't watched it in years, and I was at the TT in Arizona last week, and Mario from Red Bull's rig, and he's like, I know I got this damn thing in here somewhere, and I lifted up all these old ass DVDs, and mine was on the very bottom, and I was like, holy shit, dude, here it is. We popped it in, and I watched the whole damn thing, and like from the music and the shots, the people in it, it's pretty crazy, man. That's one thing I look back on, and I'm really proud of.
And then we went platinum.
That was Walt's idea. He jumped that up at like 3 a.m. one morning. He's like, dude, we need to start doing this video series called, I don't think he said platinum, but he's like, this next level video series.
Was Barsha the first platinum?
No, it was Chris Aldridge, Jace Owen, and James Justice at Barona Oaks.
Oh, that's right.
And then I think Walt did 1 or 2 on his own after that, and then Barsha might have been like the 4th or 5th one.
Barsha's the big one, just because he went so big at his house. So
that's really what put the platinum name on the map, I think.
Yeah, I think you guys got $1 million out of that view on YouTube.
Yeah, and pretty quick. I remember editing it and being like, if I could get, and it was right when we switched to YouTube.
Yeah,
or
so
right around the same
views.
time. And I remember thinking, if we could get like 80,000 in the first day, I'd be like, that would be sick. And I think it hit 80,000 in 3 hours. And I remember being mind blown that was possible. Like that, to me, that was the first time I felt something really went viral for Verb on the internet.
And I think that's nuts because that's pre-Instagram. I think with video stuff, it's, Instagram's definitely a huge help to push a video feature.
Not now. I don't know about now. I think people watch it on Instagram and never go watch the rest of it.
True. So you pretty much run off Verb strength, other moto, just the buzz of it, and a little bit of MySpace.
Yep. I mean, up to that point. I mean,
Facebook would have been Facebook by then, right? Or was?
Yeah, we were probably doing average. We were probably posting stuff on Facebook by that point. Yeah, we had to.
MySpace had to be this, and Facebook had to be this.
Yeah, I think MySpace probably phased out about 2009, and then Facebook took over. So I'm sure we had a following of some sort on.
Thanks, Mark Zuckerberg.
On Facebook. But I remember Racer X and Transworld at that point in time had that shit on lock. Right? Brian Staley would sit there all day and message people and ask them to like it. And I remember asking him how he did it, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, send them these kind of messages." And I'm like, dude, that's an all-day gig. And he's like, yeah, man, but that's why we have 4 million people on our Facebook likes. And I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with our freaking 200,000 then, man. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it helped push it in a way. But even then, I think we did like a Barsha Platinum trailer and, built hype around it. And we were really good at that hype game, I feel like. People knew to come to us to figure out, make sure they watched our videos.
I just remember that shoot he had just kind of got his playground all built up. I think he calls it Bam Land now. Yeah. But dude, one of the devils, like he's pretty much almost not like a little bit different style than like some of the freestyle, but he's almost like backwards at point. Like, is he gonna bring it? He like flatlands one still sideways.
Oh, that shoot. Tabletop, dude.
Yes.
And I had a lift and I'm on top of him coming up, and he's like basically backwards.
Yeah. That's the same. When he touches down, you pause it when he like full body compresses as he touches down. Wheelie through like the whoops over one of the dragon's back. There's some good ones there. And then you did.
There's some unbelievable riding in that.
He's one of my favorite guys. Like, I really still want to go do a shoot at his house in any capacity with him, but just because he just becomes so unleashed when he's just screwing around.
Yeah. That's what is mind-blowing to me now that you're mentioning that. I'm sure that was like in the middle of the Nationals that we did that.
He doesn't have that kind of fear. Some guys would tell you they wouldn't do that during that time.
But the thing is, I don't know that he would anymore. I think he was still young and fresh and loved it that much that, oh, hell yeah, I want to do a dope-ass video. But that was also part of Moto 3, the movie, I believe. So Taylor Cogden come out and help me shoot it. And he was like, hey, dude, I want to use this cable cam thing that I got the hook on. I'm like, all right, well, how much is it going to be? And I think I bought the lifts and he paid for the cable cam guy or something. And so the segment I made and the segment he made for his movie are, pretty similar. I didn't really use too much of his footage he shot, and I don't think vice versa, but the cable cam shots are the same. But it's I don't know, that Taylor having the idea to bring a cable cam to a moto shoot definitely changed. That was another moment in my career that was like, whoa, here's a whole nother dimension as well.
So that kind of set the bar for platinums. I'm trying to think which ones went. I think there was a Dino one.
Yeah.
And then
Dino one was pretty cool. We used the heli and that flew the red a little bit in that. I mean, that was pretty cool. I just don't think the riding was nearly as insane as it was. You can't top what Barsha did at his house, I don't think. We did another one at Dreamland right when Luke Rinsland had that built by Dream Tracks as well. That's probably one of my favorite. We had Cooper Webb, Jordan Smith, Luke Rinsland, and Jimmy Dakotas, and those jumps were huge.
Oh yeah. The so thinking of technology, the stuff you guys first started shoot on, for anybody who doesn't know, it looks more like a camcorder, handy cam style setups. You go to the set, like say everybody kind of moves over to the Canon 7Ds, more of a
2010
DSLR with exchangeable lenses. It's pretty, I would say, more common space now. A red camera, guys shooting on red for moto, but you're one of the first guys that made the jump technology wise to get your hands on. We were joking about there today. Your first one was still like handmade before they had them factory CNC.
Yeah. I think I have like the 1000th red Epic M made, so pretty early adopter of it, and it was just such an exclusive thing back then. You had to get on a waiting list to get one. And you couldn't just go out and buy one like you can now. So I remember I had put my name on the waiting list, even though I had no idea how I was going to buy one. I was just like, I'll see if somehow I get lucky enough to get one. And I got the email one day. I remember being like, holy shit, I got to do this. How the hell do I pull this off? And I think like the next week, I had been doing this Red Bull series called Rite of Passage with Jesse Nelson and a few other guys. And I had no idea. I thought I was just doing it for the love of the game and like getting my name into the Red Bull thing. And my guy, Sam Keane, called me. He's like, hey man, we had about a $40,000 budget for this series, who do you want me to send the check to? And I remember being like, wait,
what?
You want to send me a $40,000 check? And I just went out. I used that money to go buy the red. Instead of going and buying a house or anything else, I said, I'm going to go buy
got to keep the dream alive. Let's keep going.
Right. But it's not like it instantly made me more money, but that camera I still use today and I still freaking love it. So I don't know. I'm sure it's probably paid itself off time and time again for me now.
The other one I think is, you flew one the other day. The drones have changed so much. I remember coming over when you guys did the little Verb compound thing in SoCal, when you guys were putting together one of those airframe ones with 8 props and stuff. That technology has changed way quicker than I thought it was. But same thing, you guys jumped on the first version of those that were basically like these kit frames. You had to put the motors on yourself, the controller units.
Yep. It was all 100% custom built.
Gimbal, everything. How much was the first one of those you guys built? And did you haul red with that or no?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw a number out. I could be wrong. I thought you said, didn't you guys have like 60, 70 or something ridiculous?
Yeah. At least. Yeah. Our first, we bought a single rotor helicopter in 2011 that would fly an FS100, a Sony FS100. It was built for that. And it was so bad. And in 2000, and I think we spent
the stability was horrible.
Oh, it was just like it was so bad. And I'm sure we just didn't even know how to tune or anything. But one of the guys that did it with us was a remote control helicopter pilot. He's really good. It was just insanely terrible on the stability side. So, and not to mention, I was so scared. We were slinging samurai swords around. If it were to hit anybody, it would have killed them. So I'm kind of glad that got phased out. The next year, I don't know how we figured it out, but people started building these custom eight blade rotor, multi rotors to fly cameras on. And we found these pictures and we email hobby shops to say, how do you build this, and this? And like, we found all the parts, figured out how to build it. And we found a shop in like Tennessee that helped us actually put it all together. But yeah, I think it ended up costing probably 30 for the frame, another 20 for the gimbal, plus add in the camera and the lenses. Like, yeah, it was well over 100 by the time it was all said and done.
I remember pointing at the
idiotic.
When I point at the table, you rounded, and I'm pretty sure it was close to 100K mark.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
What the hell did you think you needed that thing for?
Well, here, my idea, it was such a new thing. It was really a business model to go after that type of work. Of like, the few people that were doing it were making $5,000 a day going out and flying for an hour on their stuff. But the problem was I had so much of a full-time job in Verb and my Red Bull work. My other buddies that were doing it with me were full-time helicopter pilots. So we were trying to chase something.
Axiom.
It was Axom. Yeah.
Axom.
Axom. So yeah. And we just didn't get to chase it enough. We landed a few pretty big gigs. Even with like Discovery Channel and stuff, going and flying in swamps and doing all kinds of like nature cool stuff. And I think had we really pursued it, there's a few companies that are still going today that started when we did that are, kind of like the go-to people for that now. I'm sure had we had dedicated ourselves to it and chasing just that, we could be at that level, but it's just not something that you could do part-time and expect to crush it at.
Did you guys at least pay for the thing? Did you do enough work to pay for it?
Who knows, man? It's probably not.
What happened to it?
Probably not.
What happened to it?
So what happened to that one? When we did the VurbMoto edit contest with Jordan Smith and RJ Hampshire, I think it was 14 or 15 at WW Ranch. It was super foggy one morning, and I was getting these establishing shots with it, and to this day we don't really know what happened, but I'm pretty sure the moisture in the air locked up two of the rotors simultaneously, and we were about 100 feet up, and it just took the gnarliest digger. And when I saw that thing flying out of the air, I just remember being so scared shitless. mainly for my
camera.
At that point in time, I thought I had just thrown all that down the drain. But then after my camera ended up being fine. My Movi had broke, but it was fixable, so it wasn't really insanely bad. But either way, I remember I was so scared from that point to fly a drone anywhere, because I was like, what if that hit someone? And like, granted, it was a private shoot then, but I was thinking, what if that were to have happened anywhere else? And I don't know. Ever since then, I was way too scared to pursue that anymore.
Like I said, it's scary how quick that era changed, because a bunch of us use these little Mavics now. But
now the Mavic 2 is unbelievable, and you can stick it in your backpack, take it anywhere you want. Back then, we used to have to carry on these big ass cases, and it would take us. We'd have to get to a shoot a day early, build it. And then get it all ready, test flight, and do all that. Make sure all the.
How long would it fly for?
10 minutes at a time with these big ass battery packs. I think we probably had like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of batteries, and you'd have to keep them constantly charging with these big ass RC chargers. It was like the gnarliest pain in the ass all the way around. And so that's another reason I think we quickly realized, oh, this was a pretty shitty thing to start chasing. It was gnarly. I was gnarly, yeah. So it was cool. We got some dope ass shots throughout the few years that we were like really chasing that, because again, we were one of the only people flying reds, but it was scary as hell.
It's still not cheap, but I mean, with the kit ones and the way the Movies work that like bolt right in, that can be used right in and out, you can fly a red for like almost a tenth of the cost of what you guys did originally.
You could buy like an Alta 8 for $15,000, which is like the nicest one that Freefly makes, and then by the time you get a Movi, another $6,500, I think. So I don't know, for about 20-25 grand, you're pretty much in the works with flying a heavy lift
compared to your like 80 original.
Yeah, insanity.
Technology.
Yeah.
So the edit contest was very cool, and the give back, because I'm trying. Did you guys do? You did two edit contests. The first one was the Smith and Hampshire one. The second one was the War Machines.
Right.
You guys like.
I still think to this day that was a damn good marketing concept.
That was so cool.
Yeah, we got hundreds of people entering that.
I knew a bunch of people, like I didn't at that time. I hadn't done anything in media or anything, so had never played an editing program, and even I considered it. I knew a bunch of buddies who didn't know how to edit that just were like, "This is a cool idea. I'm going to learn how to edit just to try to submit something."
That's cool.
So that's where it kind of, you guys got guys that were like had no experience that just wanted to give it a shot.
I still get emails to this day of people asking me like questions about how to do stuff that say I started editing from your footage and meta edit contest. I don't know, and that's pretty flattering when you're hearing that kind of stuff.
Well, the contest, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the prize, didn't you guys like give away a bunch of old like your last year's camera gear? Was that one, or the second year didn't you guys like the grand prize was you gave away some equipment or something?
I don't think I would have given away any of my equipment. I think I don't remember what the prizes were, but I know like there was a few camera stores that had given us some like either inspired drones or cameras or lenses at the time, or maybe gift cards. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember there was a bunch. So I thought the grand prize one of the years was one of the latest handy cams, so not like one of your big gear items, but I think you guys put up some cameras or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really remember what it was.
How'd that concept come up though?
I don't know. I feel like I was always pretty good at thinking of like unique ways to market stuff, and obviously I knew we were pretty good at shooting, so I was like, how cool would it be? Because I always had people asking me for footage too, and I think one day it just clicked, like how cool it would be just throw all this footage online and let's see what a normal editor would do with some footage that they probably can't acquire on their own.
Do you remember the results from the first one? Were you like pretty blown away with some people put out?
Yeah, to this day I remember like the top three. There were some really good ones, even with sound design and motion graphics. I think the coolest one that stood out to me was actually the second one we did. This guy in Europe, I think his name was Bradley. He replaced the sky in all the shots with the stars and put all this NASA mission talk under it. And to me, that was the sickest one anybody ever did, because it was like by far the most unique concept, and it worked so good. And like with H.264 files, he cut it out so good, rotoed it out. I don't even know how to do that shit now. And I just remember watching that and being like, holy shit, this is cool.
Did he do it with any of the Tim Geiser footage or no?
I think he took clips, because I think for the War Machines one, I uploaded all kinds of stuff from every segment. So if you go back and look at it, he went and chopped shots from everything. And I don't know how you do that stuff, and it's so rad. And like it's Garrett. There's a lot of shots of Garrett Marchbanks at that one ship track in Utah, and it with all the big rocks and stuff in the background. It's just freaking rad, man. So yeah, I don't know if there's a winner of all of them. That's who I'd pick. I don't know if he ended up winning the second one or not, but he should have.
Hey, we're just going to take a quick break from this conversation to thank the brands that make this happen. I say it every week, though. This show is presented by Specialized, and honestly, the Big S does a lot for all the guys in this sport. You walk around the pits and you see a lot of Specialized bikes for a good reason. They've got all the equipment, whether it's road, mountain bike, e-bike segment, gravel. They support our riders severely. It's always great to support a brand that supports a sport. Big thing for them lately has been the expansion of their turbo line, which is their e-bikes. They've had some really good mountain bikes. They've moved into an urban segment with them. And now they even have basically a road bike and gravel bike for the guys that want that e-pedal assist for longer rides. Check them out at specialized.com. We're also brought to you by Yoshimura, home of the 2019 250cc Supercross champion Chase Sexton and two-time world champion and current MXG points leader Tim Geiser, and the current points leader in the Moto America Superbike competition with Tony Elias. Yoshimura has been winning for 6 decades. See what's new at yoshimura-rd.com. You can also email me. It's somewhere in the description of these podcasts. Hit me up on social media. We'll see what we can do to maybe hook you up with Yoshimura if you're looking to get something bought over there and get something new on your bike. We also have Chaparral Motorsports. Chap has been in the industry for more than 30 years. We got over 3 decades of selling bikes, parts, and accessories, online retail, everything you can think of, they have. Check them out. Maybe you want a Yoshimura pipe. Maybe you want a Fox helmet. It's all over there. Go to shopmoto.com, throw in the code ML512 to save at checkout. This is actually a dealership we're going to be procuring all of our bikes for shootout from. Super excited about that. We also have Fox Racing on board. Fox did drop the all-new V3 helmet a couple weeks back, and there's a lot of new technology in there, Fluid Inside being the biggest one, and that technology was actually purchased by MIPS, which is pretty interesting. Shows what they think of it and where they want to get in the marketplace. Also, being able to support that technology, and there's just a lot of other really great things going on with that helmet, bringing Fox once again up to the top of the foray, with the best guys in the helmet market, going along with great gear, great boots, great goggles, etc. Check out more info there at foxracing.com. There's also a really good tech video up on my YouTube channel about it. And lastly, workschassilab.com. This is a venture between me and a partner of mine that does suspension for a bunch of the factory teams. We basically supply all the engine mounts and a lot of chassis components for the factory Cowie team for the last couple of years. Eli's won 2 outdoor championships on our product. The Star Racing guys have won a couple titles now on our product. Rock River, MX101, a bunch of privateers, IMAC, Tyler Bowers, HEP Suzuki, the MCR Honda team. We just got a bunch of guys, Suzuki team in Germany. A bunch of them are running our stuff. Check it out. We've got a lot of great parts on there, and supporting that directly supports me. So awesome. Let's jump back into our latest episode of this podcast.
The contest. Yep. So you brought up in there War Machines. That was I don't know how to label it. To me, Epic was definitely like, I think of it as even though you did it, I still just for some reason Epic to me is like Verb, and War Machines is very much, I label it directly to you. That one seems more like, I guess, a passion project per se, or
I think they all were to an extent. It was, I don't know. Epic was something that I spent a lot of money on. I went huge with music. I probably took my entire life savings that I'd made it to that point and spent, I got some pretty big name music in that one. And then I did this really cool packaging for 5,000 DVDs that was just like, that's it, that's all. That had all these really cool photos and this hardcover book. Book.
I have one.
And quite a collector's item now, because I think I probably have like 300 of those left. And at some point in time, I'm going to make a collector's edition DVD pack and sell them. But I don't know. I thought Verb was big enough that it was going to, send me down a totally different life path. I thought I was going to make a shitload of money, and it's funny it didn't. So anyways, I fast forward to War Machines freaking 5 or 6 years later. I was like, finally, Verb's big enough. We have millions of people looking at our website. I'll be able to sell a shitload of these. So I still did it on the cheap. I did most of it myself. I edited it all myself. I had Danny Stewart and Chase Donovan and a few other guys help on a handful of shoots. But for the most part, I even shot most of it myself. And so I kept it on the cheap. And I thought, okay, sweet. I'm finally going to make money off a movie. And then I didn't. And I was like, why do I continue to spend a year making these damn movies and never make any extra money on them? Like, everybody loves to work for free. So I don't know. I think at that point in time, I saw the writing on the wall, like with Verb, with movies in general. Why am I going to keep doing all these gnarly projects and killing myself essentially for a community or people that don't necessarily appreciate it or want to support it? Like, what's $12 to spend on iTunes at the end of the day when you watch our shit for free every damn day? So I don't know. I think a little part of me became kind of bitter at that point in time.
That's gotta be. I remember Verb. You guys even, speaking of that, it's tough. People like to complain sometimes about content. I'm like, it's free. Go away. If you don't like
absolutely.
it, go away. You didn't pay for this. You didn't anything. We put out stuff day after day. You love a lot of it. Sure, I understand you complain, but when
you hit a home run every time.
Yeah, but when you melt down over it or just refuse to support,
yeah.
But I actually remember, at one point Verb was going to have a premium version for premium content. I think I signed up for it and it lasted a whole whopping 2 months.
Yeah, it was actually 2009. It's called Verb Insider.
That was it. Yep.
So you had to originally it was supposed to be $10 a month, and then we decided, hey, you know what? Let's just make people put in their email addresses to get access to this. And I think we got 5,000 people to do it. And I'm like, okay, if we can only get 5,000 people to put in email addresses, what's the chances that any of them are going to pay any kind of money to warrant having to create all this extra content on a monthly basis? And I think we pushed it for a few months, and it never really translated to something. It was just an idea well before its time. I think eventually now sites will start going to that because they're going to have to. If people want content at some point in time, they're going to have to pay for it. And yeah, that was just an idea a decade before its time.
So I will totally leave that. I'm not going to ask too much questions here. We're going to leave this in your court. Why'd you leave Verb? What's the downfall?
I just think everybody got to a point in life that we're involved with, that was involved with it, that, everybody wanted to go do their own thing. It was a time that I was so crazy passionate about it, and everybody else involved were like, hey, we need to start making real money or we're over it. And I totally understand that perspective, but for me, it was something that I worked a decade on. I didn't want to just throw it away or give it to someone else to run or whatever. I loved being involved day to day, and it was definitely my baby. So I don't know. At that point in time, Brent had phased out by a few years at that point, and it was myself and Andrew and a few other guys had ended up coming in. So the equity split wasn't in my favor anymore, as idiotic as that sounds. But I don't know. It went down in not such a good way then, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to walk away. I have this whole other production stuff I'm doing on the side now, and if I just put a little bit more interest in that, I think I could go somewhere with it. So I decided I'm going to switch focus and run with that, and thank God I did. I think looking back, if I was still doing Verb, I never would have quit that dream. And I don't know that, especially in this day and age where the media is at, where the industry's at, I think it would have just, no matter how many good ideas I could have come up with and gotten people involved with it, I just don't know that I'd be in a position in life that I am now to be pretty happy, continually loving what I'm doing and creating badass content, having the money to create badass content. Because that's the biggest thing with Verb. I had all these epic ideas, but how are you supposed to go shoot a video that genuinely needs to cost $20,000-$30,000 and you got $3,000 to do it?
Yeah, I know that coming from even working for a media company. Yeah, that's the realistic end of it. There's people that want you to do projects and the entire budget is $1,500, $2,000, which a lot of people might think a lot. But when you hire people that are good at their stuff and have good equipment and stuff.
That's
that
one
doesn't
dude,
go
that's
anywhere.
one dude's day rate.
That's one dude's area. He goes nowhere. Travel, get guys in now, especially like a lot of people. Oh, you can just shoot it locally. Yeah, everything at a SoCal track looks really great over and over. Like, cool, we want to go do this here. We want to make it, presentable. Yep. Oh.
And that goes back to my raising the bar. I was constantly the person that I was never complacent. And I think that was my biggest thing with Verb at 2015. We'd become complacent. And I'm never that way. Look at Moto Spy now. I don't know. It's just something that I always want to do better than I did before, no matter what. So, yeah, I don't know. It was very hard for me just to be okay with being okay. And so just going down to that, when there's no way to raise the bar, I just don't have fun anymore.
Well, I think at least the bright side is you did at Verb, a bunch of stuff for Red Bull Jams. You did some professional for some of their pro motocross projects. And to be honest, Red Bull is... I get upset sometimes when people want to bash sometimes on like the energy drink companies, regardless of which one we're talking about. Like, oh, I'm sick of seeing Ride with this or that. Yeah. It's like, dude, these companies give us an amazing amount of money to spend on riders and give some people some amazing opportunities. But I think specifically Red Bull, just on the media side, as I said, dirt bike industry, we usually don't get a lot of wiggle room to play with, enough real backing and belief from a company to do cool stuff.
Yep.
And in this case, you've nailed like the perfect home to transfer into, somebody that definitely want to give you the tools to do what the vision needed.
And it's a dream come true. It's the raddest group of people to work for. They give me the leeway, the creativity to do what I want to do for the most part. Obviously I got to pitch the ideas at the beginning, but if we all agree on the idea, they let me chase it and really utilize my own creative direction on it all. And I think it really shines in our product. Obviously it's a lot of heads coming together to make it work, but I honestly couldn't be happier. And like you said, just any company like Red Bull or Monster or Rockstar that supports the athletes, supports media projects, that supports our sport in whatever capacity, you can't complain about that. It's awesome. I mean, I can honestly say I look at how much Red Bull spends on some of the stuff. I don't get it. I know if it's my money, I don't necessarily want to do it. So I'm extremely thankful that a company like them still finds interest in our sport and continues to want to support our riders and community with this content and whatnot. So yeah, I'm extremely grateful, and it's a dream come true for me.
When you left Verb, what were some of the projects you went to work on in the initial kind of phase of stepping away?
So what's funny is when I left Verb, I had just started a printing business in Atlanta, a large format printing business with a longtime friend in Atlanta. And so I was so burnt out with film that I was going to quit for at least a year. I was like, I'm going to go concentrate on this printing business for a year. And then Doug Cabrera at Feld called me and said, hey, we'd love for you to come help us do Chasing the Dream for the Supercross show. And I just remember thinking, hey man, I was living in Tahoe at the time. I was like, all I really want to do is I'm going to take 6 months completely off. I'm going to snowboard for 6 months. And then, I kind of have some other plans. And then I remember thinking about it for a few days and being like, you know what? Especially after this whole Verb thing went down, I really needed to work with some new faces, different people, and find my appreciation again that they would have for me and that I would have for another group of people. Because the Verb thing was pretty sour and bitter. So I think we had a lot of negative connotations about each other and even what I thought about myself in my head. So anyways, I figured it'd be a good thing to go work for Feld. So I went and did a lot of the Supercross races as the guy in the pits hanging with the riders. Since I knew them, that's why the riders so well. That's why they wanted me to be in that position with the camera. And so I don't know.
All that time hanging out with amateurs paid off because it became pro.
Finally.
It was worth hanging out with this 10-year-old.
So, it was just so awesome, like working with Jason Monroe, Doug Cabrera, Luke Parmiter, Matt Francis. And those were a lot of names that I had worked with before. A few of them were new, but I don't know, our camaraderie and appreciation that we had for each other and the different elements that all of us contributed to make us that project as good as it was made me love it again. And I couldn't be more thankful for that opportunity. By no means was it the biggest thing I ever did or the most money I ever made, but it was something that was life-changing to me just because of the group of people I was around.
I would say there's definitely got to be I'm trying to think of what year this would have been. I don't know if this is 14 or 15, but I think you definitely still hit a burn point on moto. I remember because I ran into you for the first time in a while at a KTM intro in Indiana.
Yeah.
And the guy who helps me with a lot of my video projects, Joe Carlino, is very big in the snowboard industry. And I remember you were talking to Joe and you're like, give me on some snowshoots. I basically want to do anything but shoot a dirt bike right now. I could tell you were like, for a bit.
Even right now, we just finished Moto Spy, and it's I'm the kind of guy that can run myself into the ground for 6 months without hesitation. But everybody around me knows Wes is going to be freaking MIA for at least a month as soon as those 6 months are done. And it's just something I think, at the end of 6 months, I never want to do anything again. And it takes me a month at most before I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get back into this. But yeah, there's even I remember in 2009 when I got done with Epic, we had got done with the Racer X motocross show, which was all summer long, and even the movie had taken until the end of summer. And I think I didn't pick up a video camera for like 4 or 5 months after that. So there's, as well as I, when you run yourself into the ground like that, constantly doing shoots, constantly editing, constantly having to come up with content ideas, be creative, talk on the phone to a million different people, you just get spent. And nobody understands that. So when I go and say like, hey, I'm bitter at the community for not supporting Verb more, nobody understands what goes into it. So to have you make go and all this extra time making a movie or making Meta that was originally Verb, and not having 10 or 20,000 people, which is a fraction of the people looking at the site, that won't support you with $10. I just remember being like, why the hell am I even doing this? Like, if I can't get one of these people to buy a t-shirt, a movie, or a magazine, how am I ever going to make, how are we collectively ever going to make enough money to support it? I was still 25 or 26 at the time. It wasn't such a big deal, but at some point in time, you want to grow up and have a house, have kids, send them to college. You ain't making that on a freaking $3,000-$4,000 a month salary for the rest of your life while you're still going to amateur motocross nationals to make that money. So I don't know. Again, it was, I think the writing was on the wall, and even though it was extremely hard for me at the time to leave and give up that dream, I'm thankful it happened now, because went on to bigger and better things for sure. And hopefully the motor community realizes what they could and should have. That's another big thing. I hope, I doubt it's changed anybody's opinion, but hopefully they support people like Vital and Racer X and Moto Playground and Meta with their money, whether it's with a t-shirt or subscriptions or whatever. It takes the people in our community supporting our community to keep it going. And that's just something I don't feel like I was ever able to translate at Verb. So, but it's a big point. Like, if the people looking at Racer X or Transworld don't buy the magazine, look at what happened to Transworld, right? It's a sad day for our sport.
What was during I would say, if people didn't pay attention to what you're doing now, they know that you've been really involved in some O series, which we'll touch on in the last couple of years. But there's that in-between time. Was there anything you finally got to do away from moto, like shooting-wise, that you've been really wanting to do? Any really unique projects you got to be involved that you're pretty stoked on? Or
it's funny, every year we all, the people I work with, Ashton Hamill or Will Posey are my closest guys the past few years, and we always said, hey, this is a year where we're going to break out and go do something else. We're getting away from moto. I've told Kelling that a million times. And we'd go off and do a music project or two. We did, it's 2017 or 18. We did a handful of GoFundMe shoots, some food shoots, some really cool stuff that was just like totally off the wall that Will lined up through some old producers of his. And it was fun, but it just seems like the moto industry has its funny way of just
brings you back.
No, you're not going very far. So, and every year I'm like, okay, I got done with that project. I'm ready to go hard left. And then it's like, no, you're gonna come on back. So, and especially this year, yeah, the Rebel guys called in December and they're like, hey, let's do this Moto Spy thing again. And it was a lot different in the years past that we've done it. It wasn't nearly what it was now. So they said, hey, we want to throw some real money at this and have you guys follow around the whole season. I'm like, what? So
for anybody to know, I mean, first of all, if we're at this point in the interview and you don't know what Red Bull Moto Spy is, go freaking watch. Just like stop, pause it right here, put down the time, go watch it, come back, because I think you'll appreciate
like the whole swipe up thing.
We're in the middle of a podcast. I don't know. Okay, so if you're on YouTube, hit the link below. If you're on iTunes, Stitcher, all stuff, exit out, hit pause on this podcast, go to YouTube and go search Red Bull Moto Spy. Anyways, I remember, I don't even know what was the first year they did the series. I just remember I would see the Twitter for it sometimes and stuff like that. And it was kind of a docu-style series, but biggest thing has always been access and the time of it. And personally for me, I'm a huge fan of other motorsports, and a big one for me is F1. And I was so excited this offseason on Netflix. I think Drive to Survive. Great. Now I can remember what they call it. They did an amazing docu show, multi-episode on Formula One that covered last season's. A couple teams signed up for it and drivers, and the storylines. It's a lot of in the moment race stuff. A lot of guys mic'd up, so you just get absolute gold of words that guys are saying about one another, about the moments, about the situations. Talking to somebody like Daniel Ricciardo, who is in the middle of possibly actually leaving Red Bull for Renault after he dreamt his career. Just some amazing storylines that you read articles about, you hear rumors, but to actually see it play out was amazing.
And unfiltered.
So
completely unfiltered.
And I see that, and I remember thinking to myself, why can't Moto have this? Then a couple weeks later, I see the first episode from Moto Spy this weekend.
Well, what's great is we actually beat them to. We had no idea they were doing them. Our episode, I think we had 2 out. When they did? I think that dropped around Daytona. Yeah. Because I remember watching the first episode at Daytona, and our 3rd episode was about to drop, and I was like, so happy that Moto Spy had come out before F1, because at least at that point in time, people couldn't say we're copying them.
Yeah. I guess I missed the overlap there. Then but you're right. I remember watching the first episode, and honestly, God, like I look, and I'm like, oh my. We have this.
Yeah.
Moto has this.
I don't think we're nearly as unfiltered or walls broken down as they had quite yet, but I have a feeling that the team managers and riders are going to appreciate what we did this year and continue to allow us more and more access. It's definitely not an easy barrier to break, because it's a wall that's been built over a long time. So even what we got this year, I felt like we pushed some boundaries, and nobody really hated it. We had everything from Cooper asking for Baggett's setting and showing that, and behind the scenes with Kenny getting blood test, to Marvin and Cooper at Baker's factory with the obvious tension between them. So it's real life, and it's cool allowing them to show us, allowing us to show them in all those scenarios, because I do think our sport needs something like this. Just like F1, think about how many more fans that show brought into that sport. Our sport needs something like that to show how real these riders are and how real their situations are.
I look at this crossover. Me and Hammer were having this conversation. I was like, I think the thing I loved the most about that F1 series coming out was, look, a lot of guys in motocross, they follow. If I'm at a race and somebody doesn't want to talk about Supercross racing, they want to talk about MotoGP. Yeah. Guys actually wanted to talk about F1. There's only a couple guys in the pits I usually talk to F1 about, because there's only a few that follow as close as I do. And all of a sudden, it's on everybody's mind. And same thing with the Moto Spy, being able to do that, just that extra layer. Because I don't know, it's kind of weird. We've got, between the internet and the websites and how fast content can come out, we've never had access to so much content. But I say that at the same time, and there's nothing against any of us, and I understand what it's like being on the media side, why it ends up like, but so much of us also had the same content, and we would always sit in meetings all the time, content meetings, talking about what do we do to get viewers. And the biggest thing we sat down is, as a site, we need to offer something that somebody is not going to digest from Instagram or just by watching the race. And especially, I think social media has actually made it pretty hard to introduce something to...
It's so hard, man.
Something they're going to come back to. I think you can definitely hit good articles here and there, and good individual videos that are unique enough to get somebody's attention once. But to get somebody's attention to come back over and over when they're just being shoved so much to their face from social media means you've nailed something.
Yeah. And going back to the Verb thing, saying I'm glad I got out of it when I did. I'm glad because of that alone, because having to constantly figure out that conundrum, I'm glad it's not what I wake up every day thinking about and going to sleep thinking about, because you're right, that as a media company, that's what you have to think about all day, every day. How do I get people to click on my site continuously?
Yeah, and you don't magically fix it with them. You can come up with an amazing idea, kind of work, and then about 6 months later, you're back in the same hole. You're like, okay, everybody back to the drawing board.
Yep. And it's crazy. You got to constantly reinvent, and it's hard to do, especially when you get into that burnout stage like we were just talking about. It's hard to be that creative when you're that burnt out, and it's quite cyclical. You never quite find that rhyme or rhythm is really hard to just, I guess, keep going. So either way, yeah, I guess your point was with Moto Spy, we've had a pretty good success of getting people to latch onto it and come back and watch them. So I think we definitely found a good formula that works. That's really interesting and showing people what they don't normally get to see. And that's probably what it is, the access that we're able to getting Cooper to be candid on camera. And it's not like we're using sit down interviews, not using VO, we're using real life scenarios and situations. And I think that just makes it that much more real and entertaining.
Two things about one of I noticed, it brings you back to a different style shooting. I mean, you were talking about cameras today, and why I started at the beginning, guys, a lot of the early stuff you guys did was on more of a camcorder, hand cam setup. We moved to the Reds, we moved to a lot more of a tripod, cinematic style shooting, a lot more setup. This kind of stuff, you got to be on the move. So we were talking about you're back on a camcorder for this year. You've done the majority of that shooting with it because you're just
at least at the races,
so you can be there in the moment with them so quickly. So how fun is it for you to switch up shooting styles and be back in the thick of it?
I personally always love to change it up. I've always been the kind of person that if everybody else is using the Mobi, I'd want to go handheld.
Slow-mo's the thing. Oh God, now we're over the Mobis, now we're over the drones.
And drones is another big one that I quit using for quite a while. And even still, I stay pretty light on it. I try not to overdo anything too much. And I remember even when we started using jibs back in 2010, it became the craze too. Jibs and dollies, everybody was doing it. And me and Walt were definitely the reason why everybody started doing it. But it looked good. So anyways, I was like, hey, we need to go back to this crazy running gun style. We got to be quick. So I was like, let's go to these lightweight cameras. I'm going to buy this new Canon zoom camera that they just came out with. And it just really brought this whole unique feel back because people haven't seen the style since 07. So, or maybe 09 was kind of when everybody quit using the zoom cameras. So I think it just kind of gives it that feel that people remember, and it makes it, you're like, it's probably more of a subconscious thing. Like, oh, I kind of like this style. Why? But that's what it is. It's what you used to watch 10 years ago. So I think it's something people can latch onto.
And it still doesn't make it easy. You've had to, like I said, there's a lot of guys racing. I mean, pretty much everybody's pro now, albeit other than like Reed is somebody you shot as an amateur.
Yeah.
So the connections are there.
And I think that helps tremendously.
Yeah, I'm about to say, but still doesn't, it helps. It still doesn't make your job easy. We were talking about and I know because, Alden's got the compound. I've always been really lucky that every time I've asked him, he's really honest to deal with. He's pretty much always let me come. There has been like one time around a Daytona testing. I was really busy. He goes, hey mate, little nuts this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know especially now that the Florida compound thing centers people, a lot of people want access. A lot of people hit up those guys up. Hey, can I come shoot for a day? Can I come hang out? Can I come stand over your shoulder? I wouldn't say it was easy for you. Still had to definitely work to get a lot of that stuff this year.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they're all still pro athletes, and he's a pro trainer, pro training facilities that are trying to get a job done. And having a camera crew come and invade your space as much as we need to, nobody really wants that, no matter how good of friends you are. But I can say the friend level definitely helps, knowing all of them for that long, knowing Cooper for that long, knowing Zach Osborne for that long, or Jason Anderson. The only guy I really haven't known that long is Marvin. And granted, I've known him since he came to America, but because I didn't grow up with him, I don't know that I have that like personal connection with him that I have with everybody else. I obviously try to work on it, but it's not nearly what I have. Even with Ken, I met Ken in 2005 Minios and shot with him back then. So even with him, it's a lot of stuff going back that far that he remembers me, and there is that friendly connection that helps break those barriers.
It's funny to think. I can imagine a little bit probably how they look at it. It's like if it's just somebody, one of the media outlets is hired to come out there that knows one rider in the group, the others don't. They're still like, oh, here's this rando with a camera following me all day. Instead, it's like, hey, it's Wes following me. Oh, he has a camera. Okay. But yeah, it's Wes following me. Okay.
Well, it's not like I just show up to hang out anymore. Maybe back in the day, but yeah, at least it makes their days a little easier knowing that it's me and I'm not going to ask him to do a million things. I do think Cooper mentioned that. It's like, hey, dude, I'm going to come out. He's like, okay, cool. It's not like, shit, man, what do you need me to do extra today? I don't ask him to hit any extra berms. I don't tell him to go make up any dream scenarios for me.
Can you whip that for me a couple times?
So that's the best thing about shooting Moto Spy. I'm just shooting what's going on, legitimately. I'm not there to
choreograph.
Yeah, no, there's nothing extra. There's no, hey, can we do a sit-down interview after this? I need an extra hour of your day. It's, hey, dude, your day's done. See you later. I'm going to pack my shit. So, and they love that. I think that's one of the reasons they allowed me to come out so much. If I took up time every time I came with them, I think it'd be a completely different series and feel, because I think they would have gotten a lot more tired of me. And not to mention, we show them in a good light. I think that's what they were all worried about, is them getting this access. They thought, everybody thinks you're just trying to be there to burn them. I'm like, I'm not trying to be here to burn you. I'm just trying to show what's going on. And honestly, if you say something really shitty, I'm probably not going to use it. I want to keep getting this access. If something goes down and you don't want me to use it, I'm not going to use it, man. So building that trust level this year was a big thing. So Michael just informed me that we're approaching his record
for length one. Yeah. Good job, Wes. Good job, Wes. Can't shut either of us up.
The two people you don't want to get together. Just talk. Dude, we have been sitting in this house all day in San Jose, California, just shooting the shit, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. I do laugh. I was laughing once earlier this year. I was at Supercross, and there's somebody else I know that talks as much as me or you do. Or it was last year. And Andrew Short knows this other guy I'm talking about. He comes walking up to the Honda rig, and he sees us both talking. And I see out the corner Andrew stops, turns and starts walking away. And I'm like, hey, where are you going? He goes, there's going to be no oxygen left around here. I'm out.
That is amazing.
He just wanders off.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I think that's everything is guys see that series. And of course I could see riders being scared. And I really hope coming from it that other teams, because I say you mostly worked, of course, with Red Bull athletes this year, where I hope it goes to, because I know that the guys behind this series, even for Red Bull, would love to see it expand to other riders, is we're not trying to show people, and it's not trying to show people and I like trying to get some dirty info. It's giving people this super unique access, like literally like it is. It's like, this is what would happen if you could go to Alden Baker's and stand there and watch them all day. Yeah. Like, this is what you see happening.
Absolutely.
And I hope that more riders see it this year and want to be involved next year, whether or not they have a Red Bull on their helmet or not.
And that's the coolest thing about Red Bull. I don't think they're extremely picky about it. There always says we chase the story. So if that person's wearing a different helmet, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I think the only negative comments that we got this year was, how come you always don't include Eli Tomac in the story? And it's like, we did enough to the point where we showed him and showed where he's at in the series. And especially as he continued doing better, we gave him the props where props were due, I think. But do you not think if Eli would let me go over to the rig and do what we do with him with our guys, I wouldn't have done it? I would have.
If he was leading the title, how much more would you have had to be around in his rig?
I mean, I don't know that if they would have given us the access, we would have anyways. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season, I talked to him and Tom Journet about being part of it, and they're pretty cool with it. And we probably would have used him because he's such a great personality and obviously the title defender. So he would have been a great story angle. So it's if the story's there to support it, we chase it no matter what.
And I hope he comes back for Supercross Strong next year. Just from a storyline, it'll be there's just so many good ones, and that's why I'm excited for the series next year.
I know.
Kenny's still chasing, Eli's still chasing. Cooper, we both know confident Cooper is dangerous. Yep. So have him coming in, hopefully with a good outdoor season 2, come in next year with confidence. Dangerous Jason with a point to prove. I already know. I saw some comments and I understand it too from his standpoint. It's like he was the defending champion, and not a lot of people were talking about him this year, and not to be rude to him. I know some people even within the company that he rides for that maybe didn't think he could do it again. And I think it was a big question mark, and I'm sure he'd love to prove anybody thought that wrong. So I think him coming in with that is going to be pretty cool next year. So hopefully you guys get some
You
action.
can't tell me he's not going to win a few races. I said it on DMXS a few weeks ago, but we say it every year. This year is always the best year ever for Supercross, but like next year, it's mind-boggling how good Supercross has the potential to be.
I just love this. We always say the term storylines. Like Marvin's chasing, like everybody's got something unique going. Kenny is still trying to get that first win from the huge comeback. Eli is this insane. He's ET. He's like an alien sometimes on a motorcycle, but he can't put together in Supercross.
Yep.
Coop has come from the abysmal, whatever they thought was a failure of a 450 career. Jason's somebody that I don't think people ever thought would put in the work to do it. Marvin, if he can do it, is going to be the oldest ever. He would set 2 records. He'd be the oldest ever first time, plus the oldest ever Supercross champion.
Yep.
Nobody, I think only one dude won at 27, which was Dungey. Everybody else, like RV are like 26, but they had already won titles before that point. So all these guys have something super interesting to follow. And it goes down like Barsha, you can come up with storylines from it makes it interesting. And I guess it's hard. Maybe, I don't know, the years of domination from Ricky before, like, I don't know, there just wasn't that many storylines. You just didn't think anybody could touch them. These guys, it's pretty up in the air, and it makes it fun.
Yep. Yeah, 10 dudes that could legitimately win the thing next year. But like you said, give Cooper that confidence, he's going to be hard to beat from now on.
Yeah. So how many guys are you going to have to bring to the races next year to video all this stuff?
Hopefully a lot, because hopefully Netflix is the one that picked up the F1 series, right? Maybe they see Moto Spy and say, hey, we want that. And I have no idea what kind of money they're working with. Maybe we'll just hire every filmer, every single one of them.
Have one at each truck.
Yes, there you go.
Actually, it's kind of funny you were talking about Jeanette with Ando. That would almost be like the perfect scenario is the filmer that gets along. That's kind of like each guy's group. That's
how you get the best personality. Like that. Yeah. Again, going back to knowing Ken and knowing Coop, knowing Zacho, just knowing those dudes for so long, that's instantly breaking down that barrier. That wall's kind of non-existent from the start. Some dude that doesn't know them, there's a wall. So I know at like Baker's Factory last time, Marvin looked over at Zach and was like, you cannot be saying that there are cameras here. And Zach looks over at me. He's like, Wes, are you going to use that? And I was like, no, Zach, I would never use that. We're on the same team. And he goes, see, Marvin, he's not going to use that. We're on the same team. And Marvin's just like flabbergasted that like Cooper and Zach will be that open with me knowing that a camera's around.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was shooting at Baker's like just photos, and Zach's sitting on a jump, and Anderson pulls up next to him, and Anderson was on a pit bike that might not be that brand or something like that. Let's just leave it wherever. I shoot a photo, and I see him waving his arms, and he's like waving at me somehow like, yeah, and I'm like, I'm just shooting Zacho. I'm not that like I'm not we're not that stupid. Don't worry. Like, yeah, we're not here to please screw you all. Like, it's cool, dude. We're good. Right? We're all good. Like, but I know they worry because, dude, it is like, it's a big, like you said, they're professional athletes. Like, there's a lot of stipulations in their contract and a lot of money. They see cameras around, and it definitely can be like, don't you mess me up, dude.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest, like the mechanics are probably the gnarliest ones. They're like, don't you screw me, dude. Don't you screw me. I say some dumb shit sometimes. And I'm like, here's the thing. We're not putting anything in there of you that's like that. Come on. Again, we're on the same team. And that's what I think everybody will need to understand is not trying to make anybody look bad, not trying to screw anybody, not trying to break contracts. We're just trying to get what's real. And hopefully if the teams see that, we'll just get continued expansion into their lives and behind the closed doors that we still don't have. I'd love to be up in the rig reviewing tape with them, seeing what it's really like in between moto or the heat race and the main event. Be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. So yeah, there's endless places Moto Spy could go and continue to push those boundaries. But yeah, it's all about the teams and the riders letting it happen. So your hat, single track project. Yeah. Before we get into your Love Mountain Bike, I gotta explain the person that's with you on this because I love him to death. The man, the enigma himself,
David Bulmer.
Nomad Bulmer. For anybody that doesn't know, that didn't get to see it back in the day, the year in MX. The
guy decided to come over, buy a crappy motorhome.
Yep. I think in 1987. I wish I wouldn't. No, it wasn't. I don't remember what the name was now, but it was a Riley or something. It was a pretty shitty motorhome. It didn't have AC, I'll tell you that.
Did it break down going any rounds, or did you get lucky there?
No, I think it lasted the whole damn time, dude. It never broke down. It just didn't have AC. Yes. In the summer, in a lot of very hot places, including California, Arizona, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Texas.
Yeah, Bulmer's a trooper.
He was, and I did it with him for like a week or two, I think. And I don't think me and him ever put on clothes. It was just boxers only. It was that hot.
Windows down, driving along the road.
Fully, dude. I remember being like driving through Arizona and being like, why am I in this thing? I had a plane ticket and I didn't take it. But either way, that's another really cool video I like. Year in MX. If you go search that on YouTube, it has young Jason Anderson on a 125, Dean Wilson when he first got on 250Fs, Extreme Team Green. Really cool shoots.
How the hell did you meet David Bulmer?
A year in MX at the Racer X. He was sitting at the kitchen table one day, I guess, when he was doing his whole trip. And he'd been there for like 4 days, and I've been editing videos the whole time. And I remember finally going over to him and being like, hey, dude, I noticed you sitting here all week. Where are you staying? He's like, oh, mate, out in my motorhome. I'm like, are you showering and stuff? He's like, nah. I was like, well, I have an apartment down the road if you want to shower in a place to sleep in the air conditioning. And so anyways, we our lifelong friendship kicked off then, and he's probably one of the hardest workers I know. He's one of the reasons Verb was able to be Verb. He was the most dedicated, epic, hardworking guy that just kept us on track. He was very organized and did so much stuff that I don't know that some of us had the foresight to do. And he was very much an integral part of our success. And he's, again, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that he's works for the HRC press manager for Europe now, and he's done a few other things in Europe since Verb shut down, but he quite an epic guy. So yeah.
What did you guys hire him to do first? Because he wasn't immediately. What was his first job for Verb?
That's a good question.
What was he technically supposed to do?
I don't know. I think I just liked him so much, and we knew, like, maybe he was like, I can write, I can post stuff,
I can learn how to take a photo. I know how to drive around the country.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him that. That's a good question.
Because I know eventually he became a little bit of everything. But I'm like, what did he do at first?
I think that's kind of what he was. He was a jack of all trades, man. He knew web coding to some degree, and at the time we really needed someone that had some kind of knowledge of web, because we had a shitty ass like Joomla site or something, and we were trying to get us anybody to build us a site that was better than what we had, and we had absolutely no money to do it. So that's how one of the business partners finally got involved. He got connected, and he was an insane web developer. And yeah, we brought him in and gave him equity because we had no money, but he built us the dopest site ever. So from about 2010 when he came on board to we shut down, we definitely had a good site.
I remember that with Verb, like when you guys did Verb 2.0, 3.0, yeah. 4.0, like there's a couple other sites that have done updates, and this is no offense, like I remember the 2x Transworld went through big overhauls. I didn't like it. Racer X's new overhaul took me a while to adapt to.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny at Vital. I used to kind of think our site's getting kind of dated, but we also never wanted to like jump off the cliff and mess things up.
Yeah.
I always liked a lot of the Verb redos.
That's cool.
They were good.
You know what? Because Clint Wilkinson was a damn good designer, and Adam that did the site. And even with Bulmer, me, Brent, Andrew, we all knew what worked and what didn't work, and we knew what looked cool and what didn't. I would say that was our biggest strong suit. It's just knowing what was cool and what wasn't. I feel like there's so many people that just don't know what's cool and what's not cool. There's people that send me stuff, and I'm like, you just don't know what to say sometimes. Like I don't know, man. That was one of our biggest things. So I agree with you. Our first couple sites were pretty terrible because of the zero budget and the technology that was available back then for zero budget. But once we got Adam on board, who had done like some massive music sites back in the day, he built us from Verb 3.0 on. we had some pretty epic upgrades.
So I got us a little sidetrack back to single track. So
Okay,
that's you and Bulmer. Yeah, I just had to.
Yeah,
on
me,
this
Bulmer,
side.
and Brent. So I was in Tahoe last year snowboarding, and Brent called me one day, and he's like, we were talking bullshitting about Verb, and he's like, hey man, I got this idea about a mountain bike website. What if we create a site where we design all these cool ass trails, take trail names from across the United States and make cool designs of the trail names, and then we just sell these t-shirts with basically cool graphics on them, so we could have thousands and thousands of t-shirts, and let's sell them and then give part of the proceeds back to the local trail organizations to help build more trails, because Bulmer, Brent, and I are all pretty avid mountain bikers. We like to shred. We may not be the best mountain bikers, but we love to shred.
Like to shred and like to suffer.
Yep. And so, and just to prove it, we all three did BC bike race back in 2016, and I whooped their asses. 7-day gnarly ass race.
I trained for months.
Yeah, I was Alden Baker, no big deal.
You need to go there and is that why you're at the Baker's Factory now? Were you doing some training there with those guys?
I actually Bulmer and I used Coach Rob Beam's program, and it definitely is what helped me survive that race. But anyways, yeah, it's a really cool idea that's still very much in its infancy. We kicked it off in December to just try to work some bugs out with our store, start working on more and more and more designs, because basically we can have infinite amount of designs. But like, name your 3 best favorite trails in California. Let's hear them. What are the sickest names?
Talonix and Laguna.
Okay, see, that sounds like a cool one. That sounds like a cool
we
name.
have Greer Ranch, which is literally my backyard.
Okay.
Well, you guys that ride on mountain bikes now, I actually made most of those trails on dirt bikes, but it's a cool mountain bike area now. Greer Ranch. And then I can't name. Well, I'll say it because I keep crashing on it in the Oaks Hawk. I keep crashing on Hawk on my XC bike because I'm out.
So see that we need to make t-shirt designs for all 3 of those.
Yeah, and then can you make one Hawk with me upside down on a?
I love it.
Yeah.
That can be the design. I like it.
Great.
So anyways, I think it's a really cool concept, and we have like 3 or 4 designers working with us right now, and they're really damn cool designs. So I think as soon as like the concept kind of catches on, and the mountain bike industry and the riders themselves actually say, oh hell yeah, I'd love to have a shirt with my local trail names on them, especially knowing that, you know, part of the proceeds go back to help supporting the trails, building more trails, keeping them in shape. I think it's a really cool idea that we're all like crazy passionate about again, and it's something that, not like Verb where it takes up 24 hours a day, because we all do have full-time jobs. So this was something like, how can we do something cool, be involved in this industry, give back, and hopefully get us on a few video and photo shoots and some really cool spots throughout the year, and ride mountain bikes while we do those shoots. It's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win for everybody. How much have you gotten to do any cool mountain bike shoots over the years? Have you been able to sneak your way into any projects? Or
Yeah, we did some stuff for EWS a few years back.
World Series.
Yep. So we've done a few of those, and then my buddy Jace did some stuff for Specialized with the soil searching. They do that series. I kind of actually want to do some stuff very similar to that, seeing as we want to do this whole trail building thing. I love that concept, so I definitely want to steal a page out of their playbook and do some soil searching myself for a single track project. So I don't know that I've done that much mountain biking, because it's pretty tough hiking up and down the trails. I feel very spoiled when I go back to a motocross track now, especially doing some snow shoots. Holy shit, mountain bikers and snowboard filmers have it pretty hard.
Me and Joe have this conversation every year, and it's become less and less because he's a big snowboard guy, and he'd come shoot with me sometimes in SoCal for some bike intro in the middle of summer. He was like, it's dusty, it's hot, this sucks. He'd complain about like cleaning his camera equipment, and then he'd send me some picture of him like completely snow blizzard, white out, screen is frozen with moisture on, and he'll just be like, I want dust and heat back, please.
Yeah. I was out shooting snow bikes earlier this year. Same thing, dude. I'm trudging through higher than waist deep snow to get out to the spot to shoot. And I'm like, what in the hell am I doing? Yeah. It's freaking blizzarding, cold as absolute shit. Not nearly good enough shape to do it.
At least when it's hot out, you sweat. When it's cold out, things don't work. Cameras, batteries, your muscles.
Yeah.
One of the craziest one him explain me is like when they're doing some of the backcountry stuff and they want like a line that looks like it's never been hit. You can't really walk around it that much. You have to like be so careful about how everybody goes and sets up everything, so you don't see footprint and stuff all around the shot, just so it looks like so pristine when they hit it. So you can't go and check the you can't yeah.
Yep. It's and again, you're miles out there. How the hell do you get to those spots? I don't even know.
Helicopters.
Yeah. Well, big budget stuff anyways. Otherwise, I mean, you're probably on snowmobiles.
When are we going to see like Red Bull Art of Flight, but for dirt bikes?
I just don't know that it's possible, I don't know. You'd have to go to some insanely epic locations. One-off tracks you'd have to get. If you got Jason Baker to go build 12 one-off tracks in some epic locations around the world, I think you could do it. But I think you'd need a budget way bigger than... Well, you know what? I don't know. The thing about snowboarding is, especially with Art of Flight, they'll sit there for a month at a time waiting for Bluebird days to shoot so they get the right sun or whatever.
Dude, those guys get just when they were waiting on a shoot in Alaska, they were all on retainer for a month. The shoot never even happened.
Yeah, I bet.
The weather never came around.
And even when it does, sometimes the snow's not good.
Yeah. And
sometimes the athlete's not on. So who knows, man? Like maybe a moto shoot would be cheaper to do it that way, because at least, within 2 or 3 days, you're probably going to have good enough weather to do a moto shoot. So, and you're able to get a lot more shots in a lot quicker of a time. And that's going back to the spoiled part. On a snowboard thing, you're lucky to get a couple shots in a day. Yeah. Versus in moto, if you got good light, a good track, good moisture, keep
doing
going.
It, man.
You're gonna get a lot of shots. So, like with War Machines, I did a lot of those shoots by myself in half a day. Go to Tim Geisler at Dirt Park. I think we did that in 6 hours.
That one reminds me. So I have, on top of my head, I have my 3 favorite shoots between Verb and you I've seen done, and all 3 of them come from movie segments. Jace Anderson from Epic, just because his style at that time was so unique and he was so exaggerated on brake tap, like everything. Watching him ride Supercross the first time.
Yeah.
The whole legs are both off each side, big brake taps, right when he kind of got in the jersey and the Volcom helmet.
Yeah.
The style now is great. The one I said earlier, Landon and the exaggerated bar stops at Wyvern. And then your Geisler shoot, just because that track is... Him on that track is stupid.
Yeah.
It's like he needed 7 gears.
Yeah. It was really cool.
If I challenge you, what are your 3 favorite segments you've ever shot?
Well, Geisler's one of them too.
It is.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure. I'd have to go Barsha. That one was just huge. And just for what it did for me, the Stewart shoot had to be huge as well. I don't know. That's so hard to say. They're all, I look back at so many shoots that I feel like were really, really cool and unique, but those stand out for the obvious reasons of the aesthetics and how good they were. And how good a time we were having at the time as well. Like even the guys who shoot me and Bulmer were cruising in his car through Europe 5,000 miles in 2 weeks or something stupid, because we always sign up to do that kind of stuff. Him much more than I do, but I don't know. Every shoot comes with an experience and as something crazy different lifetime, point in life for me. So a lot of my favorite shoots weigh that in as a factor as well.
Was there ever a shoot you were scheduled to do that didn't happen, that you were so bummed that didn't? That happens to everybody. I know it would amaze people how many times you set up something and it just blows up in your face. Is there one that stands out that you were just so freaking bummed that didn't get to happen?
I'm sure. I think the story's already out there, so it probably doesn't even matter. And I don't know that Red Bull even cares. But we were supposed to do this Red Bull straight rhythm shoot with Stewie a few years back. We built them the KX 250, a CRF 450, and we had Alta drive all the way from California with their new Alta bike.
I heard about the Alta.
Jason
part.
Baker went and tore down one of the Supercross tracks and built us 3 lanes that we were going to pretend was one straight line through some movie magic. And he was going to be on the KX 250 for the first section. Then the Honda 450 is going to blast it, on the speed checks. We were essentially going to use those as cut points. And then he was going to be on the Alta on the last section. I think it would have broke the internet. And I think it would have been the sickest shoot ever. But old Stewie decided he just didn't want to show up.
And you guys all got out there.
Oh, we were all out there. The track was built. The amount of money that I didn't have to spend was pretty enormous. So it was funny. We had rented Airbnb in Florida that had a really nice backyard pool. So we played golf, drank beer. Well, we basically went and sat at Stewie's enough because it was a nighttime shoot. So like we basically, I don't know, probably after the second day of sitting there, I think we realized he wasn't ever going to show up. So I think it turned into spring break at that point.
So you guys got a paid vacation.
Yeah.
Courtesy of James.
Everybody else, I think everybody else did. I think I didn't charge Red Bull because I felt so bad for Jeremy. So but everybody else got paid. So I'm a nice guy though.
You're such a nice guy. Ouch. Okay, I didn't know that was the full one. I'd heard about Alta going all the way out there, but I didn't realize that's quite what it was. If that had something to do with Malcolm.
I mean, think about that. Can you imagine Stewie on a KX250, dude? It was the same one. I think that he won which one? What was his last championship on that? 05, 04?
He never won a title on the KX250, but he raced it in 05, and the only reason
that's right. Okay, yep.
He had to race it at everybody pretty much raced a 2-stroke in 05 Supercross. Ricky everybody did, but outdoors he would have raced the 450. Cowie had a prototype in his steel frame that had issues, so he didn't get to race a 450 till the following year, but he raced all of 05 on a KX250. I think 06 Supercross they all jumped on. I think they may. I got to go back and look. I think they all raced 450
at that point.
Yeah, because I remember me and Ricky had this conversation in 05. If he would have stayed with Honda, he would have been all 450 in Supercross. But when he jumped to Suzuki, he stayed on the 2-stroke. So we had a good little last 2-stroke year, those guys in Supercross.
Yeah.
Man, that would have been big.
Yeah, I agree. So why Stewie didn't show up, no one will ever know. But
yeah, have you seen those videos he's been putting up?
I saw the first one, at least parts of it. And then I haven't watched the second one yet, except a few excerpts that someone posted on.
They really could have used a tripod the first part of that first one.
You know what? I go about it both ways. Like I'm thankful that
I'm just thankful it exists.
He put it out and it exists. At the same time, I just think it blows my mind just knowing Stewie, the money that Seven could have if he put an ounce of effort into that company, doing 1 or 2 videos a year. And the fact that they just don't realize that and say, hey, let's invest a few dollars in production value and make this something that can promote this company that James can live off of forever. Maybe it's making enough money that James can live off of forever anyways. I don't know. But it seems to me if they just put 10% of effort into using James as a marketing tool and James realized that, the amount of money Seven could be making is unbelievable.
After episode 1, a friend of mine reached out to me. He goes, do you know anybody there? I'm like, what kind of why? He goes, please call them and tell them I want to help on video part 2 and I will do it for free just for the sake of I actually want to I will help just because I want to see it done good for him.
Is that why number 2 took so long? Because someone actually went in and used the tripod?
No, I think those, I didn't ask. I should have asked Roger last day. I don't know if they shot those all on the same day. There is an episode 3 coming.
Okay.
I think they're hoping 2 weeks out. We should have it and that'll be.
I think that's why it took so long between 1 and 2. They look different. So I think they went back and decided to do it a little differently. So either way, I'm glad he came out and called himself fat and at least gave us something. I think all of us still hold on to this grandiose idea of watching him ride a dirt bike again one day, but I have a feeling that might never happen.
Yeah, YouTube, you can find it there.
Yeah,
I swear, James Stewart videos just keep getting more views on there because people want it.
Oh, of course,
they're looking for him.
Quite an
Your video keeps getting bigger,
right? But imagine if Stewie came out and did 1 2-stroke video per year in the new 7 gear as their launch video.
I say it. If you watch episode 2, he talks about a little more. He's in a weird place, pretty over dirt bikes, right?
I can understand, dude.
I need to watch all to understand. I'm just I watched part of it, haven't gotten to watch all, but it's definitely. But I agree with you. I'm like, dude, how he's fat. I would love to see fat Stewie throw a fat whip over the double in the back compound once a year and be like, look, I'm a dad, I'm fat, and I like to cool.
Ricky embraces it. And he loves it. I mean, once you're okay with the image, I think it's fine.
Yeah. And he still rips.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. But I mean, if you're Ricky or James, you don't lose that.
No. I know. I
lost it. I personally lost it without kids and without getting that fat. But I definitely can't go.
It's funny in their mind. I'm sure they feel difference. But for any of us watching, dude, this guy still kill it.
Yeah.
You don't get that good and lose it that much. Yeah, you can lose a lot and you're still going to be better than 99.999% of the world.
Yeah. Well, what year was it? 2013 or 12 that Ricky showed up to Loretta's and waxed 30 plus class?
Waxed it.
So you don't lose it. Don't lose it.
Have you ever had, when was the last time you had to go back to Loretta's?
Oh, I've been 19 years in a row. I started going when 7th grade.
You went last year.
Yeah.
19.
I haven't missed a year. I think this year will be my 20th year.
Do you still shoot or do you just go?
I still shoot every year. I don't know why I still shoot, but I still shoot.
This is the most surprising thing you've told me this entire time. Even more, this actually slightly out surprises the James didn't show shoot. You still convince yourself to go sit in that cooker every year and shoot.
Somehow, some way I do. 2 years ago, I was driving from Washougal. We did Planet Moto for Red Bull, and my girlfriend's car was out in Idaho. So we went to Washougal, and then we had to drive all the way back to Atlanta. So I was like, you know what? That's how I was able to go to Loretta's that year. We stopped and did a few things on the way, and I only went to Loretta's for like 1 or 2 days. I didn't shoot that year. I only watched, drank beer like a normal person. But last year, we were doing some the 90s throwback stuff for Red Bull Straight Rhythm. That's where we interviewed everybody on the green screens. And so we did a Loretta's dressing room. So we had like 10 people to interview that we were able to get. We were there all week to get them. And we were just sitting around the whole rest of the time. So I was like, I'm going to go shoot. Like, what am I going to do? Just sit here? So I went and shot the whole damn time. Just thinking like Pierce Brown, Derek Drake, Carson Mumford.
You gotta keep in with those guys because you're gonna have to interview them.
Ryder D, Jet Reynolds, like Jet wasn't there, but yeah, not that I was even conversing with them, but just having that footage in the archive. I have a pretty extensive collection, so I just want to make sure that I continue to have the most extensive collection. Nobody will beat me on my Loretta's collection.
So we're not gonna try to crush dreams here, but Verb 2.0 ain't happening.
Next week, dude. It's launching next week.
So this is gonna be like the Stewart comeback. We never know if it's gonna happen or not happen.
Yeah. It's coming back next week, man. Just got to get done with editing these videos this week, and then once I get time to get on that, I'm gonna
build a website
next week, man. I'm gonna start working on it. No, okay. So I'll let you in on that running joke. AC came up to me last year at Loretta's when he's doing his vlog. He's like, VurbMoto's back. And I said, no, Adam, it's not back. It's coming back next week. I was like, we got a party this week, but next week is coming back. So ever since then, like Big MX Radio and a few other people on Instagram always post, like they'll take my photos that I post and add Verb 2.0 coming back.
I know. What's Brad G Hard does it every week. Verb's coming back, right, Wes?
Yeah. So I make the mistake of trolling people and reposting those sometimes, and it's just
your Instagram name is Verb Wes.
Oh well, and then I did that too. I did that at the beginning of the year because your camera's off again, but oh well.
Keep going.
So anyways, yeah, but Danny Stu especially was like, dude, you're Verb West forever, because it was Axon West, and it's kind of a defunct business name, and I never decided to run with it. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going back to Verb West. So now might be Single Track Project West, but I don't think it's a name anybody's gonna really resonate with. They'll be like, who the hell is this guy, and unfollow me. So
speaking of AC, why wasn't he on the deal this year? You got a good enough relationship with him, or are we gonna get him on Moto Spy?
I think he'd be down. We just didn't really dive into 250s that much. The 450 storyline was already good enough.
I feel bad saying, in retrospective, Vegas would have been a very good and bad storyline with.
But think about that. As a story maker, being able to show the highs and lows. Jeremy always says this: showing the lows at their low and their highs at their high, or showing the lows at the lows make the highs even higher. So that's what we try to let people know. Hey, everybody gets pissed off, everybody loses a race, everybody's going to get shown in this light, but think about allowing us to use those elements to tell the story. It's going to make it so when you do win, or you do have these monumental moments, it's going to make those feel even bigger and more impactful. So I don't know. They're dirt bike riders. I don't know that they understand that from a cinematic and storytelling perspective, but maybe it'll get through.
Well, this will be our last one, because I just realized we texted Cody Webb about dinner, and neither of us have our phones on him.
Okay. Well, hey, dude, when was the last time you didn't touch your phone in 2 hours?
Sleeping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about. When we were hiking down to that ridge last night, because my phone didn't work while we were down there.
Oh, that's good.
I may have tried, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
But grandiose idea. Are you you got a project that you haven't done that you're still do you have like some mythical moto project you want to get done before it's too late?
I have endless ideas. I had endless ideas for Verb. That's probably the biggest disappointment for me is the amount of ideas I had that I think could have worked and made it a massive company, but we'll never know. So, I don't know. I try to always push the boundaries on filmmaking, and that's where my passions lie now. And I don't know that I have some grandiose, badass idea outside of that. So if the community would support it, I'd love to make a movie every year, but it's just not something I'm interested in going in, spending a shitload of time, effort, money on to break even on. It just, again, I'm 33 years old now. I have a wife, an amazing girlfriend, and hope to, start another part of my life really soon. And it's just, if I can't do that on a minimum wage salary. So it's like, you kind of got to figure out where your passions can intersect with making a living, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, I guess in a perfect world, there's a lot of things I wish I could have done, maybe even done differently, but I'm extremely happy with where I'm at, and hopefully Red Bull and the other energy drinks continue to support our sport and allow us to continue making some badass content, right?
Somebody's having fun doing wheelies.
Right, let's go. Let's go do wheelies.
Let's go do wheelies, bro. Thanks for 2 freaking hours of your time.
Son.
Bam. Thanks for listening to the Off-Camber Podcast presented by Specialized and supported by Yoshimura R&D. If you like this episode, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., hit there, get more episodes. If you are watching this on YouTube, please also hit subscribe there. As you can see, I have plenty more content on here, bike testing, just a bunch of different content around the industry itself. And we're about to get into shootout season, and that'll be really good. So make sure you stay notified by hitting that button. Support the sponsors. And if you have any comments about this podcast at all, throw them in there, email me, whatever. Always stoked to hear about it. And stay tuned for the next episode.